you look at Formula One engineers. So everyone got the basic same car, but some cars run a lot better than other cars. Yeah. And the engineers are there and like, we lost a quarter of a second. That's off and this is off and we could do this and we could do that. Who's doing that for you? In this field right now of longevity, there's so much money going into these different machines that people are making, different pills that people are making, and a lot of these clinics that are being set up all over the place. And it makes me want to vomit. Can we really reverse age? Probably not right now. But what we can do is we can make things work a lot better. And we can also use regenerative medicine to repair things that were broken. There's this thing called a Hayflick limit. Cells divide about 100 times. And then after about 100 cell divisions, you don't get any more. So many people really don't understand how good cryonics is.
But who wants to do that? Who would you would want to do that? You do?
I think that we're at the age where a lot of us that do this are going to see this incredibly long life ahead of us, but most of our peers are not.
How would your life change if you could slow down your body's aging? I'm not talking about eating a healthy diet and exercising like the way I do it. I'm talking about actually changing your body at the scale of individual cells in a way that truly slows down the pace at which your body ages. If that was possible, how would it change your life goals? Would it change how you approach today? Would you slow down, speed up? Would it scare you? Or make you feel more excited about life? Well, while slowing down aging might sound like something out of a science fiction series, it's not. In fact, it may just already be here. And that's why I brought on Dr. Alexander Paziotopoulos, otherwise known as Dr. Pazio, onto the show. He's an expert in cutting-edge anti-aging techniques, and he's here to talk about what scientists and doctors actually mean when they talk about reverse aging. Welcome to the Gabby Reece Show. Let's go. Well, Dr. Pazio, thank you for coming to my home, and I'm really excited to talk with you today. First of all, in sort of doing my research, how do you go from, living in a home, meditating, doing martial arts, and being like, aha, I'm going to go into medicine?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Do you have doctors in your family?
No. My dad had a PhD or an EED, in education. So he always just wanted to push us to have higher education. That's pretty much all he wanted. But he wanted us to pursue our own dream. And he also would really push us to be like, find something that you're good at, that you also really love to do, that's also going to be in the benefit of others. And if you can do all three of those things, you'll live a fantastic life. And took me a while to find mine. From University of Illinois, I did a lot of environmental science. I studied primates in the rainforest in Costa Rica. And,
really?
And then I came back and I became a builder of all things for a while. And then I decided to give that up because a girlfriend I was dating at the time got me into yoga. And of course,
you must have really liked her.
And it wasn't just like, oh, let's take a yoga class. She was like, let's do this yoga teacher training. It was like a year long, super intense.
Wait, from the get-go?
Yeah, right from the beginning. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
It's like your Kauai trek. You're like, how hard can it be?
Right? And it kind of cracked me open. But the coolest thing about it was that some of the teachers that we were getting, the program that we went into, the guy who was teaching it didn't feel that he was really qualified, but he was really good at setting up workshops for senior teachers to come in. And so what he worked out is he'd have the senior teachers come in for the weekend, teach the workshop, and then work with us one-on-one. And so we got to meet Sharon Gannon. We got to work with, all of these amazing people over this year. And a lot of them would just be like, give us work to do and homework to do. And Sharon Gannon gave us this one assignment. She's just like, just look at everything that you do and everything that comes out of your mouth. That's all I want you to do. And then just, are you okay with all of that? And that's what led me to become a vegan.
Yeah.
Because I was just looking at this steak burrito once and I was like, yeah, I don't agree with this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't agree with the way these animals are raised. I don't agree with the impact on the planet. I don't agree with what this is doing to my health. Right. And I'm like, the only thing I like about this is how it tastes and that it's easily accessible.
Yeah. Were you in your 20s?
Yeah, I was in my 20s.
Was your girlfriend vegan?
Nope.
And you were in Chicago?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I just started questioning all kinds of stuff because when you're a contractor, it's like the guys that work for you are never happy. They always want more money. They think they're getting working too hard. The homeowners are never happy, right? Even if you do this amazing job because it's not fast enough and it's not cheap enough. And the subcontractors are never happy. And so like no one's ever happy around you. And you're trying to do this really great work. And, you know, I used to do like the designs and the work and like all kinds of stuff. And then I started teaching yoga and everyone's happy.
Are you naturally flexible?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So they're happy too because they're breathing.
Yeah, and they're always so happy to see you and they're happy after class. And it's like, wait, I want to do something where people are happy, you know, instead of all this stress and having to deal with all this stuff. And so I just sold the business and I packed up my truck and went to Boulder. And then I lived in this place called the Chrysalis Cooperative.
Oh, you went super hippie. I mean, at that time, right? Guyam was started there. Even the health food business today is out of Boulder.
And Boulder's magical, right? And back then, like, you could leave your bike in the front lawn and it would stay there for a week. No one ever locked their doors. I mean, I don't think it's like that now, but like it was great. And the cooperative, like you had to do Vipassana meditation every day with everybody. We all like ate together and you had to have your own spiritual practice and then you had to be an activist.
Okay.
But not like an aggressive activist. We were not like that at all.
You just had to have something that you were passionate about that you stood for.
Yeah, like we were always doing things to like, let's help these companies see that if they do these things, they'll get better in the public eye and their company will work better and it won't be a big cost to them. Right? Never like picketing or anything like that, right?
It's not effective anyway.
No, it doesn't work like that, right? I don't know why people still do that.
You got to hit them where it counts.
Yeah. And we set up the Boulder food co-op back then. So we had a lot of really great impact. And that's when I learned Shaolin Kung Fu. So back in those days, I would wake up in the morning. I would go to Ashtanga Yoga with Richard Freeman.
Oh, wow.
Then I'd come back and I'd do Vipassana with everybody. And then I didn't really have a job, so I kind of did whatever I wanted to do, go snowboard, mountain bike, rock climb, do whatever I wanted to do. And then at night, I'd go to Shaolin Kung Fu.
Were your parents worried about you?
Yeah, a little bit. They're like, what are you doing?
Are you in your mid-20s or a little later?
I was like right around 30.
Interesting.
Right? And I did that for a couple of years, and then I was just like, I feel amazing. And I don't feel that good.
Well, now you have because you have an institute. And I'm sure all your patients are happy.
I mean, like, if everyone could live like that, I mean, you feel amazing. I ended up throwing my bed away.
You slept on the floor?
Yeah, I used to, thermarest that you camp on.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is the best. Because you're just so open from all that practice. And I would just lay like a vampire on my thermarest. And I would go to sleep at the same time every night. And then I would wake up like a minute or two before my alarm clock for yoga. And I would laugh every morning. I'm like, why do I even set this thing?
Yeah.
And I would go to sleep in the same position. I would wake up in the same position. It was crazy. And then I'm like, oh, I feel great, but I have no purpose. Right? And I'm like, what do I want to do? And so then I went back to school for biochemistry and for neuroscience.
Did you have something in your gut or something? What was the whisper? Because those are very specific things to take up.
Yeah, I mean, the whisper was like, all right, here I can teach yoga. A lot of people can teach yoga. Right? And the people that are taking classes from me, like they get some benefit out of it, but like I could take this a lot further. And let me go into the sciences and kind of figure out how am I going to put like breathing and meditation and some of the things from yoga, some of the things from Kung Fu. How am I going to blend this together to help people become more aware and happier and healthier? And I thought I was going to go the direction of getting a PhD. And one of my very best friends laughed. And he was just like, "You idiot." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You can't do that." He's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to get a PhD? What do you have to do? You have to write a dissertation, right? And he's like, "And you're going to write this dissertation, and then they're going to tell you to rewrite it, that this and this and this is wrong. And you're going to say, no, it's not. And then they're not going to give it to you." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "And then even if you do," he's like, "you have to publish or perish, right? Yeah. And where are you going to get your money from? You have to get grants. And you're going to say, I don't like your company because you guys do this and this and this."
Oh, see, right? This is a good friend, and he knows you.
Yeah. And he's like, "And so guess what? You're going to get no money because there aren't any companies that do what you want them to do."
Right.
And so I'm like, crap, you're right. He's like, "Just go be a doctor. And then you can do whatever the hell you want. You want to do research, go do research. If you want to go help people, help people."
Yeah. So you go from this sort of very freewheeling to a very rigorous. I mean, how did you, yeah. I mean, because that's actually more realistic to what the people that you see at your institute or people listening to this deal with as far as schedules in life. How were you able to piece together your own practices while in pursuit of getting through, I mean, never mind residencies and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the workload of medical school. Did you have any tricks on that?
My grandmaster helped me out from Kung Fu a lot. Because when I was headed off to medical school, and then when I was headed off to residency, he just kind of pulled me aside, and he's just like, "You're not going to have the same practice that you have now, but you need to have a practice." Mm-hmm. And so he's like, 5 minutes, 5 times a day. Don't ever stop. He's like, "You can always do that." Right? And he's like, "I'd rather you do that than have this like really long practice in the morning or really long practice at night." Mm-hmm. Because say you have this great Qigong practice or this yoga practice in the morning and you feel fantastic. And then 2 hours into your day, all this stress hits you and you're dealing with all this stuff and you're not in coherent breath anymore. You're not present anymore. You're like with all this. But if you take 5 minutes, I'm going to the bathroom. And this is what I always tell my patients, right? Nobody can stop you from going to the bathroom. Right? And so you go to the bathroom.
Except
and you lock
very
the door.
small children. You don't have those yet. Let me tell you a secret. They can stop you or they come in.
Right.
I'm just kidding. So what is 5 minutes? Is it just centering yourself? Is it breathing? Is there a body movement involved? What is that?
It could be anything, right? Mostly it's mindfulness and getting away from your phone. So like, I'll give patients different breathing exercises they could do in the bathroom, right? Or they can do a Qigong exercise, right? Something that's going to get them to like be aware of their posture, be aware of the way that they're breathing, be aware of the stress and the tension that they're holding in their body, and be aware of the circulating thoughts that aren't doing them any good, right? And if you can just be aware of it, you don't even have to fix it. You just have to be aware of it. And if you just are aware and you control your breath, you're better.
Yeah.
And then move on. Right? So I don't really think you have to have these really ritual, like long practices. I mean, they're great, you know? I mean, you feel awesome. You do like an hour and a half of Ashtanga, you feel like, you know, you ripped open. It feels so great, right?
Yeah.
Or you do like a couple hours of Tai Chi or something, you feel amazing, but it's not necessary. And I don't think that's the whole point of everything. I think the point is like, can you put yourself into a state where you're more present and you're calm so that you can make the proper decision to do what you need to do, right? Without like throwing off your anxiety into somebody or throwing your fear into somebody or throwing your anger into somebody, frustration, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we all have it. And it's not like you're not going to do it. You're going to do it, but maybe you'll do it less.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll be a little bit more effective at what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a person that can get by the day without doing that. You know, all the people I know that are really highly effective are doing something like that. You know, all these really people that I look up to that I call spiritual. And, you know, that word gets thrown around so easily and, it's kind of a joke sometimes, but like, I always say, like, if you have a powerful spirit and something happens around you, you're probably less reactive. Yeah. You know, like somebody with a really powerful spirit's like, oh, your daughter was just in this car wreck. And instead of like freaking out and flipping out, you're like, tell me more. What's going on? Give all the information so I can act appropriately.
Yeah.
Right. Versus somebody that doesn't have that kind of spirit, just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing as like, you know, you have this disease or you have whatever it is, you know. So the stronger your spirit are, the less reactive you are, the more present you are, and the better you can make decisions. I think it's just, that's what it comes down to.
And I can't help but when you talk about that, it makes me think about the immune system, because, and you're talking to people all day long about their immune system in your practice, but we're going to be subjected to things, particles and toxins and, you know, plastic and the water we drink, and you know, you can really start to freak out, right? Like the paint on this wall and, you know, whatever. Everything. And sometimes I just go, okay, you know what? To the spirit, it's like, if I could just reinforce my immune system, I have a better shot of dealing with it. It's still going to come at me, but I think a lot of times people think everything has to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. So I really appreciate the idea of how do we enforce, build up, manage the spirit to handle all of the things, just as we're going to talk about a bunch of things that we can do to support our physical health, our immune system, for that very same reason. Because people do like to get, they like to get in the weeds. What does somebody say? They major in the minors too sometimes. And it's like, hey, calm down. Like we still have to just, let's do the best with what we're in charge of. And then you kind of got to not worry about it.
Yep. And it's really old philosophy, right? Like, in the East, you always see all these statues, and they have the hand up like this, right? And, you know, I didn't know what that was.
It's like, don't give me bad news, right? Stay away, or...
And what this means is that fear is the enemy. Yeah. And if you want to climb this ladder, you know, like chakras or whatever you want to do towards enlightenment, and who knows if that really exists, right? But like, there's different stages of it, right? If you don't get beyond fear, you didn't get past stage 1. And I really feel that most people are stuck in fear of something. And it gets in the way of their progress. And I don't think that you can really be a healthy person if you're anxious or fearful.
I think it's an interesting thing that I'm always trying to manage, which is like to find that inner calm, peace, but then somehow to live life fully.
Yep.
Is bridging the gap between a level of detachment or being fully involved, but somehow not letting fear or ego be running the show. So I always find, I don't know, because I've watched a lot of interviews with you, I've read a lot of stuff. You have this calmness, and I wonder if you ever, because I think about this a lot, is I'm fully invested, like my girls, right, my husband. How do I manage those two spaces? Is always like a dance too. Yeah,
right. And I think just step 1 is, am I fearful? Am I anxious? Because if I'm either of those things, I am spreading that. I don't know of anything more contagious than those things. Yeah. And it's palpable on certain people. And if you feel that, I think you go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you go to the bathroom for your 5 minutes. I do this. I always joke, that's when I get 8 feet tall. I try to somehow dominate their energy and keep it over on their side. So how long do you have to go to school? And while you're at school, you decide, okay, I'm going to sort of go also to a natural preventative practice.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, if you don't have the support, or not that you don't have the support, but if it's not a traditional path to take in where you come from.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not even from like, you know, Monterey or something. You're from Chicago, you know, it's like, you're not from Berkeley.
No.
And you have Greek, probably a pretty traditional family. Your dad sounds pretty wise with his wisdom.
Yeah, he was.
When you're doing that, where are you going, where are you getting the strength to say, yeah, no, I'm moving now into real adulthood and I'm in pursuit of sort of this unknown?
I wish I could just say it was like my thought patterns that took me there, but I really think it was just my personality as a kid, even. I was always just in my head, constantly looking out the window in school and just coming up with things and just dreaming things up. And I really didn't like status quo anything. Maybe a little oppositional defiant, a little bit, right? Not really nasty or anything, but more like, I don't know, more subtle.
Quiet.
Right? Just, I'm not going along with your program. Because I just never saw it as really being the answer to anything. I think I'm not one of those people that really likes to be a top expert or a master of something. It was never really a thought of mine. Like, I remember when they asked kids, like, what do you want to be? And you're going to be this and this and this. And I just want to be like, I want to have like expert level of many things. I don't want to be a master of anything, but I want to experience like really high level of different skill sets so I can better understand like everything. And that's kind of my approach to all of this. Like, I'm not a great yogi. I'm not a great martial artist, right? I'm not like a physician that's going and writing 60 papers on a certain subject, but I like to look at the whole picture. And so like, how do we put this all together? Because it's all necessary for everything to work. And there's no way I can know it all. But I can know a little bit about everything, and then I can find other people to help fill in the details. Yeah. And that's where the engineering comes in.
Yeah, I love that you talk about that. Maybe you can, this engineering approach to health.
Yeah.
Where it's all these sort of variable systems.
Yeah, it's like, maintenance engineering is always something that kind of like caught my eye. And you look at, and it's been around forever, right? Like over 100 some years. And it came about because of the Industrial Revolution. So prior to the Industrial Revolution, we never really had all these complicated systems. And then all of a sudden we have these complicated machines, we have these complicated companies, we have really complicated systems. And so how do you maintain these things, right? And how do you maintain these machines where if they break, or these systems, if they break, lives are lost. Right. And so it was just easy for me to like look at, okay, who's doing that? NASA's doing that. The airline companies are doing that.
Yeah, helicopter guys are doing
helicopter guys, like bridges, like all these things, right? And so it's like, all right, so engineers are involved in all these people, and then all these sciences have engineers to help them. And then we look at medicine, and there's engineers like helping make like artificial knees and all this kind of stuff, but like they don't have the engineers in the hospital saying like, well, these systems are broken. And why do people return to the hospital after they're released? And why do people end up here in the first place? Right? Why, and these things are single points of failure. Like, we have heart attacks, more than one heart attack a minute. Okay, so that's a big problem, right? There should be some solutions to that. And the current solutions are terrible. Yeah. It's not that we don't have the technology. The technology's out there. There are systems to make sure that doesn't happen, but they're not being utilized.
But those systems, they almost become like a warning system. To your point, I think people don't realize like their breathing ultimately will impact their heart or their brain health, right? So I think sometimes we haven't been raised, we have kind of separated everything. Oh, your heart is separate from your lungs, is separate from your brain, is separate from your pelvis wall and function. And I think what I really appreciate about this is this idea of not only kind of figuring out how one thing will impact another thing downstream, but really continually putting everything always together as one whole system.
Yeah. And you can't separate them, right? Like you can't just like take one system out of the body and have the body work.
Right.
Right. So they're all interconnected. But yet, you look at medicine, and if you see the list of specialties, it's insane. right? And one of the things that I find really odd is, back in the day, like in the 70s, the physicians, they really liked their job. It was like over 90% satisfaction with their job. And physicians today, super low satisfaction with their job. And that's a big problem, because if your doctor doesn't like their job, like how good a care are you going to get, right?
Yeah.
And then back then it was like, well, internal medicine, family medicine, stuff like that. That's the hard stuff, because you have to know everything. And you have to be able to diagnose these people with what's going on. And then you can send them to the specialist. And then the specialist uses like a couple of procedures and a few medicines. And that's kind of the easy job, right? Because you're narrowed. And somebody already did the diagnosis for you. But right now, all the money is in specialty. And your best physicians are going into the specialties. And so now they're filling primary care with not the top of the class. Now some top of the class people still want to do primary care, right? Yeah. But, they usually follow the money. And now there's nurse practitioners and PAs that are doing all the primary care. Well, nothing against them, but they never did residency. And, I used to think, after medical school, I'm like, I could just go and I could do everything I want right now. Why do I have to do a residency?
How long is residency?
Well, for family practice, it's only 3 years.
I heard that schedule was created by somebody who was a coke addict. Did you hear that?
Oh, no.
About staying awake, whatever the shift is. What is it, 36 hours?
It used to be 36.
Yeah, I heard literally, I'm not joking, that the person
12. Yeah.
was a cocaine addict. Kind of amazing.
I mean, the reason they called it resident is like you basically
lived
lived there.
Yes.
Like, now it's not like that. But
what was it? Trapper John MD? He had his camper out from there.
Yeah, right? The older doctors would
few.
say like they would get to the hospital like on Thursday and they'd leave on Monday.
So what'd you learn in residency?
Everything.
Yeah.
And so like you don't know what you're doing. Like when you get there in July, and if you're unlucky enough to be thrown into an internal medicine round, like you're like, wait, I do what? Like, how am I going to help this person? And you're like, wait, I just took, they call USMLE Step 1 one of the hardest one-day examinations in North America, right? And then you take Step 2 and Step 2 CS, and you take Step 3, and you're like, yeah, I have all this knowledge, right? And I've been studying, I know what I'm doing. And then you get to the floor, and you're like, I'm going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and that's where the PAs and the nurse practitioners are, except they didn't even have that much information given to them, right? And then they're given the job that they should do all your primary care. But they've never been thrown into the trenches, right? Like, here's this person. What are you going to do with them? Oh, how are you going to write the orders? What are we going to do though? What do you do if you do that wrong? Right? Oh, you missed that. You didn't really see that in their family history, did you? Oh, you didn't pick up on that symptom, did you? And you just get schooled for years, right? And you're just like, oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Right? And then you finally figure stuff out and you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Right? And so, right now we're throwing all these people into this mix where they don't have that background. It's unfair.
Yeah.
It's unfair to the people that are relying on that for their diagnoses.
I think that's the part that I don't want to say frustrates me, but it does frustrate me, that it feels like the people with the least amount of resources are not able to ask the questions, and therefore they just do what they're told. And, like someone that could afford to come to your institute, to the Pazio Institute in Chicago, then you get this extra and you can ask questions, and you're going to look out for different things. And you're also going to offer things, preventative things. You're going to do this maintenance and engineering of the parts before they break down.
Yeah.
And even talking about, slow aging or reverse aging or, whatever term people like. And so I think that that's what's so interesting for me, is to watch that whole big hospital system. Like, you go to the doctor, you're a nail, they're a hammer, you're in the game now. And so maybe we could go we could go low and high, because I think, again, a lot of people, someone that could have the opportunity to come see you, they're going to get some guidance. If someone's coming off the street, let's say they're not sick, luckily, but they just kind of want to get a look.
Yeah.
How do they go to their primary physician and say, this is what I'm requesting?
They can, but they're not going to get what they want. A lot of it's just a broken system, right? So the system right now is driven from the insurance companies and from the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm practicing family practice, and say I have a really good practice, so I'm only going to see about 15 or 20 people a day. There's people that are seeing twice that many, right?
What's that, 15 minutes a patient or something?
Yeah, a lot of these, the way that electronic medical records are now, there's so much crap that you have to fill out so that you can get paid. So let's say I spend 5 minutes with you in the room. I'm going to be charting for another 7 or 8, right? And then I'm going to go to the next patient. I'm going to do the same thing. And if I think that I'm going to do all my notes at the end of the day, I'm going to shoot myself because I'm not going to remember everything, right? Or I'm going to need a scribe to help me go from patient to patient so I can spend a little bit more time. Let's even say I have 15 minutes to spend with each patient. How am I going to go through spiritual practice, diet, exercise, all these types of things in that amount of time? I can't, right? And so what they used to teach us in family medicine is 1 or 2 problems. And all of medicine, the way you get reimbursed is by putting down what's called an ICD-10 code, which is what is the problem. If there's no problem, you're not going to get reimbursed. So you can't get reimbursed because for saying like, I did diet training today. And they're going to laugh at you and you're like, you're not getting paid.
You could say we talked about the guy's stress level and that doesn't count.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe you could code for some psych work that you did or something like that, right? And you get creative with it and then they get audited and who knows what happens to you, right? But it's a dangerous game. And that's why we can't use insurance doing this type of medicine.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's just no reimbursement for it. And, I do 1-hour consults. Sometimes I do 2-hour consults.
If they're really a head case.
Right?
I'm just kidding.
It's just, there's a lot of information, right? And there's so much teaching. There's so many different things that we go through. And, I hate that we have to be cash and that we can't use the system.
Yeah.
And, even my dad, he's like, try to fix the system from within. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, it's big.
My hands are tied.
But actually,
right?
What I will say that I see a lot of doing this show is people like yourself who have training and opening their own practices. At least it's a start, because it's now people getting a different kind of care that eventually I believe will trickle down to help more people to go. This actually in a way is more cost effective because maybe we can keep people healthier.
Yeah. I mean, so what we've learned in the Pazio Institute and other institutes like that, and, I don't say that I'm not anti-aging, I'm not functional, I'm not anything. I just use whatever tool works.
Right.
Right. And so I try to use the engineering platform, and you can buy this book. It's called the Maintenance Engineering Handbook. It's been around for like 100 years. It's gone through a whole bunch of different, changes throughout the years. And the very beginning of it applies to anything. And then the rest of it is kind of more like what they do with engineering and systems and tools and things like that. But the beginning is everything can be applied to that. And it's like, what are the single point failures you're going to have? Right? And so with humans, we're like, okay, you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to have a stroke. You're going to get Alzheimer's. You're going to get cancer. You're going to fall and break a hip. And we know all these top 10 things, and it's all listed. Mm-hmm. Like all that data is it's readily available. Anyone can just do a quick Google search, right? And it's like, what are you going to do to look out for each one of these? And not just monitor before it happens, but what are you going to do to prevent it? Right? And so that's step 1. That's like the very beginning. That's not even going into optimization and all these other things that you have to do, right, for the system to work well. So like they know, like a good engineer is going to take a machine, and the machine was made to certain specifications. And that engineer will make it work better. Right? And you always see it like in Star Trek, they always, this engineer makes it work better than it was designed to do, right? Or another great thing is like you look at Formula One engineers, right? So everyone got the basic same car.
Now they do.
Right? Yeah. But some cars run a lot better than other cars. Yeah. And you'll see the car go around the track and you're watching this amazing vehicle and you're like, wow, that was incredible. But then if you were to like stick your head in the pit when the car comes in and the engineers are there and like, we lost a quarter of a second, or like whatever, a tenth of a second. And they're like, that's off and this is off and we could do this and we could do that. Who's doing that for you? Right? Like, oh, you could be 5 pounds stronger in that lift, or, you could be lasting more and your VO2 max could be this much better and your sleep quality could be this much better. And no one's doing that. They're like, oh, you're fine.
Right, because, and even for people listening, like if you get your blood work done, pretty much the stuff that says you're fine, you've already headed towards a problem typically.
Oh, yeah. And they're not really, they can see trends, and it's getting better now to be able to see trends in lab work. And now we're getting into the machine learning and AI to be able to look at a lot of this stuff.
Are you doing that as well?
We've been doing that for a while.
You have. You guys have secrets.
So the new thing that we're doing is we're going beyond the Pazio Institute, and we're creating something called the Institute for Medical Maintenance Engineering. And this is going to take it to the next level. And what we're doing is the entire platform is based on an AI. And so we're reworking the electronic medical record so that it's not based on problems, it's based on optimization. Because we all still have to work within an EMR, right? But the tool doesn't work for us when we're doing optimization. So we have to rebuild the whole thing around optimization. For instance, if you go into a regular medical record, you see note after note after note for every visit. And so if I want to go through somebody's chart, I have to read all of these notes. And it's like this storyline. That's a terrible way to do engineering, right? I want to see in one page or one screen, I want to see you, maybe in 3D or something like that. And I want to see every system of your body and where is that system? Like on a scale of 1 to 10 or something, it'll be an arbitrary scale. But like, if I see one of your systems at 3, like there's a problem there, right? What are we doing about that? Right? And all the other systems, you want to be able to see like, what am I doing to make the system better? And if I click on that system, I should be able to see like, well, what scans have we done? What's going on with this? Where is it at? Right? Instead of like looking through all of these serial notes. Yeah. It's just an archaic way of doing it. So we're rebuilding that.
That's really exciting. And what I like is I can't help but think you would, in one snapshot, especially someone like yourself who has this experience, intuitively you would see one number over here and one number over there and understand exactly why they would be connected. How one thing is impacting the other. Sure. It's incredible.
But like, if you're doing primary care and you have just a few minutes in the room to work on a problem, you don't have time to work on optimization. Like, we put time aside to do chart reviews for each patient so that we can like, okay, what are we doing with this person outside of here? What can we do next? Right? What are we missing? Right? Let's take a look at this. Again, we're going to get AI to start doing a lot of this stuff too. And then the one thing that we've noticed with just optimization training in general is you have to retrain humans. So there's maintenance engineering, and that's awesome for an airplane because the airplane's not going to talk back to you.
It's compliant, yeah.
Right? And, if you want to work on the hydraulics, you're going to work on the hydraulics. If you're going to x-ray something, you're going to x-ray it, right? But when you have a human, it's a big difference. And so we have to work on behavioral modification. And so we have patient liaisons that reach out to people on a regular basis.
So is this for accountability?
It's not just accountability, because I don't want to like point fingers and
no, I don't mean it. It's just more about creating a through line that keeps people.
You have to keep people engaged.
Hey,
yeah, people need to be engaged.
Is it someone with a really warm and sunny voice and like, "Hi, Mrs. Smith, just checking in with you today, seeing if you got your walk-in"? I mean,
right?
How is it?
So there's texting, there's phone calls, and then there's automations. So we have a whole project management suite for each patient. Each patient's a project in the project management suite. Everything from their medications to what tests are next to things that they're supposed to be doing and information they're supposed to be relaying to us. So all of that's in project management. Eventually that turns into a patient app. And so their app and my medical record will be very similar in the way that it's set up. So you'll have your dashboard, and you can see your scores, and you can see what you can do to make those scores better and what you're accountable for. And then in the morning, you'll see like, okay, this is what I have to do this morning. And then just really easy stuff like yes, no, right? Because people aren't going to be really engaged. It's got to be really quick, like 1 or 2 clicks. Otherwise, you lose everybody.
Yeah.
And that's going to really help a lot. And what I try to do also is this thing, there's automaticity and there's self-regulation. Self-regulation is very difficult, right? Like, automaticity is easy. Automaticity is like when something's just become so rote that you don't think about it.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to create with people. And so something as simple as like a cold shower in the morning, if you have to think about doing the cold shower, and if you have to think like, am I going to do this cold shower today or not? You're probably not going to do it. But if you just make it that like, I never leave the shower
without
blasting myself for 2 minutes all the way cold.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's automatic.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about it. Just like tying your shoes. Like, you don't think about it. You just do it. Right? Same thing. Like, we give all supplements to patients in prepackaged little bags.
They don't have to open jars and
no jars, no stuff. And then we can also see like how good they're doing, right? Because patients will call up and be like, "Oh, I don't need my supplements this month." Like, I wonder why. Right? And so then like if they go 2 months and they haven't ordered their supplements, then somebody calls them and says, "Hey, what's going on? Like,
are you
having trouble? Are you forgetting? Like, how can we help you here? Like, how can we create a routine in your life so it's easy?" And, it comes down to the nitty gritty where like some people are like, I can't swallow. And so
they can't swallow?
Yeah. Like, they do one little pill at a time and then they take a little sip of water.
Yeah. Is that for real?
And they people all the time.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so I try to train people how to swallow. So I'm like, put 2 or 3 ounces of water in your mouth and swallow it at once.
Yeah.
Just gulp down.
Yeah.
And if you do that and you put your pills under your tongue.
So here you are in your practice teaching people.
Yeah, right? And I'm like, think about like the circus. I'm like the person that swallows swords.
Yeah.
Do you think they did that in one day?
Right. They practiced.
Right. But you can learn how to do it. And so we just have to keep encouraging people to learn new skills.
I can't help but think, because you are in the middle of the country, you're in the Midwest, you're actually with the perfect group to know everything. Meaning cold weather, a lot of alcohol consumption, wild diets and nutrition. It's not like
the worst place to put a clinic of mine.
I'm just saying, I think it's genius, because if you can figure out how to wrangle
those people,
that culture, it's just, even the fact that it's cold for several months of the year and it's unmotivating,
gray skies.
Yeah. So my $1 million question that I ask, especially people like you who see patients, is what is it? Is it they didn't grow up in a house, they didn't receive the culture of gathering around a certain kind of food, like real food, let's say unprocessed food. Yeah. They didn't have a movement practice at all. Maybe they didn't play sports at all and have no movement practice. What is it that shows up over and over with patients on how they can get their houses clean, their cars cleaned, gatherings, nails done, makeup on, new clothes, but somehow the self-care practice has not really made it to the place that it's important?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, it's not a priority in the school system, and it's not a priority among just people in general. It's not how you're judged, right? Like, you're judged by like whether or not you have money, and whether or not how you look, and what job you have, and what's your status in society, all these things. But the other stuff, you're not like, and no one taught you in school like, these foods do these things to you, non-movement does this to you, right? All this kind of stuff, and like.
But don't you think we intuitively know? I think there's
blocking.
Okay. Because I just, you know what I mean? Like when you don't move, forget food, because that's even more complex. Right. But this idea of not moving, of not having, and I'm just talking about walking. I'm not talking about banging iron and being all radical or go rock climbing. I'm talking about just being sedentary. Mm-hmm. You don't think in our spiritual, intuitive self, it's like, ooh, I should probably go do something.
There's something that happens to people where they really block what they're feeling. Because I'll ask people, I'm like, what do you think about your posture? You know, and they're like, oh, I'm all right. And then I'll measure it. And I'm like, oh, you know, your head's 2 inches forward of the center of your shoulders.
Yeah.
And they're like, huh? And then I show them a picture. Right. And I show them the math and like how much stress that's putting on their neck and how it's changing the shape of their spine. And, you know, and they're like, oh. And there's one thing I always do with everybody. I put them against a wall and I have them do what I call wall angels. So it's kind of like a snow angel on a wall. Most people can't even do that. They can't keep their head up against the wall without tilting it back. You know, because they can't translate their head this way.
You see that when you do, you know this from teaching yoga. Sometimes with Laird and I, if we do XPT, we'll do breathing, you know, 20, 45 minutes of breathing.
Yeah.
So many people are laying and they're being pushed from their upper mid back off the ground.
And that's just all those muscles that, you know.
Hyperdeveloped, yeah.
You have like tone, right? Everyone has a certain tone in their body. So like, certain muscles have a certain tone to them to hold posture, except now people are this way and this way, right? You know, there's a point here that we're always stimulating in Qigong. And for everybody that's like this, like you're actually like inhibiting that energy from flowing.
By your heart.
Right? And so we want this openness, but you can't just crank somebody open.
Yeah.
Like they have to learn how to let go, and it's not just, you can't just stretch somebody, because they have to learn neurologically how to change that tone. And that comes slowly over time with breathing and with movement practice. But they have to kind of want to do it, and they have to also experience something wonderful from doing movement. Otherwise they'll never do it. And most people, when they start to do movement, they experiment with static stretching. And static stretching is a really terrible place to start.
Yeah.
Because you'll go into a static stretch and you're going to find resistance immediately. And then like the Golgi apparatus and all these things are going to just go into, they're going to tighten up. They're going to protect you. And you'll feel tighter, right? It's more like...
Plus you'll be feeling like you failed.
Yeah, right? You just don't feel good.
Yeah.
Even in my yoga classes, I used to teach pandiculation. So pandiculation is what animals do. And the Shaolin monks, a lot of their stuff was based on watching animal movement and then trying to emulate the spirit of that animal. And if you see like, oh, the dog's doing down dog, not really, kind of, right? Watch them, right? They move around in there. It doesn't really look pretty, right? And then, you know, you see like Krishna Namacharya and some of the old yogis from like, you know, 80 years ago and stuff like that. Look at their poses. They don't look so pretty. I guarantee you they're doing real yoga. Like whatever you're doing on Instagram that looks all pretty isn't close to what they were doing, right? Because they're channeling energy and they're movement and they were feeling what was inside their body and they were doing whatever movement was necessary to let that energy flow and to release. We've lost a lot of that.
How do you ignite somebody when they are blocked? What is it? And I know for maybe all people, it's different. Maybe is it a health scare that finally gets somebody into it? Or if you have somebody who's just kind of in the middle, they're not here nor there, how do you ignite them? What are the paths of
You're not gonna
of
like
inspiration?
My answer, my answer is that you don't. You need the right person. So there's some cool, like old stories. You see, like if you wanted to get into the Shaolin monastery, say when you're younger, right? And there's like cool movies about this and stuff. Like you might have to sit outside the walls for 2 weeks. Nobody's going to talk to you. Maybe they'll bring you something, and you'll just see like, what kind of patience do you have? What kind of burning desire do you have? You hear these stories like, oh, I wanted to study with this yogi, and they ignore him for days and days and days. And they're trying to get their attention. They just ignore him. And then one day they hand him a shovel and they're like, go dig a well over there. And they're like, but I came here to learn yoga. Go dig the well. Right? They're not trying to be mean or a jerk or anything like that.
Are you sure you want to do
They're like, do you have burning desire?
Yeah.
Because like, it won't work.
Do you have a mean receptionist? Like, what's going on?
So like when
what gauntlet do your patients?
So when patients call, we tell them this is an institute.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to take your money, you know, just because it's expensive. And then, you know, you fall off after a year. Right. This is a lifelong thing. So do you have the burning desire to do this? right? And I use this term radical willingness, kind of taking it from the Burning Man community, right? Do you have that? Do you have that radical willingness to do something so different than you've done your whole life, right? And do you have faith in it, right? Because, faith is a weird word, but like it's a powerful thing. And we know about it in so many different ways. There's a doctor, her name's Dr. Lissa Rankin. She wrote this book, Mind Over Medicine, and she did all this work in the nocebo effect. And it's really fascinating. So like if you're sitting there and you're looking at your supplement pills or a pill that you're taking or practice that you're going to do, and like you think it's going to help you, like, yeah, I'm grateful for this and it's really going to help me. 50% of the time it's going to help you. Could be sugar, right? And then opposite, if you look at this thing, you're like, these damn supplements and these medicines make me feel, and I don't want to do this practice. 90% of the time, it's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have radical willingness, or it's not just not going to work, it's going to cause harm. So we have to interview everyone and see if they have that. And, we turn away a lot of people. Right? And, from a business perspective, it's a terrible idea. Right? Yeah. But that's not the whole goal, right? In this field right now of longevity, there's so much money going into like these different machines that people are making, different pills that people are making, and a lot of these clinics that are being set up all over the place. And it makes me want to vomit. Almost none of them are open source. So the IMME is going to be completely open source. And we're sharing our data with a bunch of different institutions. And we wanted to look at our protocols, look at our data, give us feedback, let us know what's good, what's not. We'll change things as we need to, right? Not that like, here's our little cocktail and you're going to spend $100,000 doing this, right? I want to be completely separated from all of that. Eventually we're going to create, and hopefully later this year, we're going to have a conference on medical maintenance engineering. And maybe next year what we're going to do is we're going to do an accreditation so that physicians and other people that want to be accredited in this and learn how to do that can do that. And then they can set up their own little place to do it. And then we can gather even more data. So this whole software is going to be built on an API that's going to be able to share all this information to these third parties to evaluate. And the more people doing this, the more data that we have, the more machine learning we get, the more training that these other people look on it. And so it's just going to get better and better and better. So like we already know like what we're doing works, but we don't know exactly which parts work. And we don't know to what extent. And now there's so many new things coming. When do we add these things? When do we take away old things? So without this type of a platform, it won't work, right? It's just going to be like, this is what I think.
Yeah, and this is one. I'm a foot dragger when it comes to technology, just because of my generation and also a human contact. But when I hear these kinds of scenarios on how to use it, it really excites me. Like in an unlimited way. Like I just, it almost feels like we have to have that because of what we've created in our system, that this is the byproduct of something so exciting. So maybe we could just talk about a few of the, because you do a lot of sexy things at your institute. You do. I mean, when you talk about reverse aging, and obviously everybody knows like chronological versus biological. I have a friend that I do, my friend Elijah, I do a technology, because he's always convincing me, he's in his 30s, technology is a tool. And we have these conversations at my counter. So every other week we do a bonus episode around technology.
Oh, cool.
And, AI and medical and all these things. But he's 35 or 6, and I think, he's 21. He's always showing off about his, and what Brian Johnson, Brian's experiment. So is that, when you talk about reverse aging, I'd love to hear, some of the ways that it's possible. And then, just even a story that of a patient that is exciting, because I think hearing it in real time is more interesting than the hypothetical.
Yeah, it's not black or white.
Right.
There's different ways that you can change the way that your body works. Can we really reverse age? Probably not right now. But what we can do is we can make things work a lot better, right? And we can also use regenerative medicine to repair things that were broken, right? But the big problem that hopefully will be addressed in the future, and it'll be done most likely genetically, is that there's this thing called a Hayflick limit. And so cells divide, and different cells divide different amounts of time, but about 100 times. And then after about 100 cell divisions, you don't get any more. Mm-hmm. And there's different factors for that. One of them's telomeres. And so we work on different ways to slow that down. And then there's other things that we look at, which are senolytic cells. And these senolytic cells, they call them zombie cells, stuff like that. And so the older you get, the more you have. So there's this thing that the older you get, the faster you get old.
Mm-hmm. Because they kind of get in the way, right?
And you can kind of see that, right? Like,
yeah,
you see somebody go from 20 to 40, like, kind of a change. Like, when I think, like, what was my performance like as a 40-year-old versus a 20-year-old? A little different. Not a ton.
Right.
Right?
Tell me about it.
But the difference between a 40-year-old and a 60-year-old,
now
that's a huge difference, right? And you still have 60-year-olds that are doing really well, right? I'm not too far away from that. But, like, then 60 to 80, massive difference.
It's like a cliff.
Right? And so, like, that's this whole, logarithmic change in age. So what we can do is we can slow down this senolytic growth, and now we're able to start killing off some of these senolytic cells. And then with some of the strategies we have, we can slow down metabolism. And it's like really funny because a lot of these optimization people, like, they're throwing all this protein at people. And I always see, like, my athletes, they're like, oh, I'm getting 2 grams per kilogram and all this stuff. And they're like, and I'm all jacked and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you mean you're aging really fast?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And and I'm like, look, we already know that there's this one, it's called the molecular target of rapamycin, mTOR. Mm-hmm. If you're a bodybuilder, you want to turn mTOR up really high. You want to turn cell up. You want to jack your metabolism. You're going to run really fast. And I'm like, it's the same thing as, like, taking a candle and burning it at both ends. It's really bright. It's just not going to last very long.
Yeah.
Right? We want to slow metabolism down as much as we can.
It's like Roundup.
I want you to put, like, on a low protein diet, like, maximum I'm at, like, 1 milligram per kilogram, which most people are like, oh, you can't be an athlete at that. Right? And I'm like, well, my deadlifts are still about 80% of what they were when they were at 20, right? And, like, all my lifts are still high, and my sprints are still decent, right? So, like, I'm good enough, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to, like, at the expense of that extra 20%, I don't want those senolytic cells and the cancer risk and, Alzheimer's risk and all that. I'd rather just be a decent athlete. Yeah. Right? And, have a really nice, healthy life. And, like, we can measure all these things. Like, we can measure your mitochondrial health.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Because that's pretty new.
It's really new. It's not new in the PhD world. So,
well, you guys have secrets, but your mitochondrial function test, you have a test.
Yeah, there's a test. It's called the Me Screen.
Yeah.
Dr. Himal Patel out of UCSD, he developed it.
Yeah, what's going on down in San Diego? They have a lot of anti-aging, longevity.
Yeah,
they have all kinds of really cool stuff going on down there.
I love San Diego.
But it's like a hub for...
But it's definitely a hub because they're also close to Tijuana.
Oh, so they can practice down there. They can experiment over the line.
In Mexico, we can do all kinds of stuff that we can't do here.
Of course.
We can do cancer vaccines. We can culture expand natural killer cells in your body so that they can go after senolytic cells and they can go after precancerous cells. You can use embryonic stem cells.
Yeah, but wait, how do you do the killer cells? How do you do that? What does that entail? Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So...
I'm not too far from Tijuana myself.
And most of these scientists are on our advisory board. So we have a really nice scientific advisory board for the IMME. And so Dr. Rafael Gonzalez is our cell guy. And he can take your natural killer cells, which are circulating in your blood. So natural killer cells, those are the ones that are killing cancer. They're also going after senolytic cells. So they'll take out your cells, they grow them outside the body, they culture expand them, and then they can reinfuse them at really high numbers. And when they go through your body, they basically just wreak havoc on all these bad cells in your body, because they can recognize a cell that's healthy versus a cell that's not. And they can target those cells that are not and turn them off and get them to basically go through this apoptosis, or a different mechanism where those cells are recycled, so it doesn't create a lot of inflammation, right? And so you're basically recycling all those contents and replacing them with healthier cells.
Have you done this?
It's really expensive. I haven't done it yet.
Come on. Can you do some kind of trade?
I will one of these days. But yeah, it's quite expensive right now. Are we
gonna make it? Are you and I? Because we're probably close to the same age.
Yeah.
Are we gonna? Is it all gonna happen in time?
So I think we are. I think that we're at the age where a lot of us that do this are gonna see this incredibly long life ahead of us, but most of our peers are not. So it's going to be kind of tragic that you're going to lose a lot of friends, and then it's going to be really cool that you're going to be able to stay alive for a lot longer. Yeah. And so I always tell people this: we're doing all of the practices today so that we can live 5 more years with really good health. And then in those 5 years, we're going to have better practices. And in those 5 years, we'll have better practices. And so we might be able to ride this wave to where we get to this point. And at that point, then we can actually reverse age. That's what we're living for. Now, if you're 80, we don't know if we can get there, right? But the cool thing is that cryonics is here. And so many people really don't understand how good cryonics is.
But who wants to do that? Who would you would only do it? You do? You'd have to, if you end up staying with your girlfriend, you'd have to get her involved in the program too.
Well, she doesn't want to. No, I'm really? Joking.
There's other girlfriends.
No, she's great. No, but, I don't know. Maybe she would. She wouldn't. I don't know. Right. But
what about that? I mean,
like my mom wouldn't do it. I can't get my mom to do it. I couldn't get my dad to do it.
But you would do it,
right? But I would do it in a heartbeat because, a lot of people think like, well, what's going to happen to my soul? And all these types of things. And I'm like, well, what about the people that they're in a coma for 20 years and then they come back? Did they lose their soul? Yeah. No. What's the difference? Right?
But it is a very, there's something philosophical about it.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just, so you would, like, when would you choose though? Would you want to not be too old? Then who do you trust to go turn the lights back on?
The coolest thing about some of the cryonic studies is, so there's this one where the med students, they went and they gathered pigs that were slaughtered. And the heads were off in a corner somewhere for a couple hours, and they're like, can we take these? And so they took them and they hooked them up to heart-lung machine, hooked the blood supply back up and the oxygen. They put all the electrodes around the brain, and they got a normal brain signal, normal QEEG out of the pigs. But the pigs are dead for hours, right? So we have this thing, if you're dead for 5 minutes, oh, you're dead. You're brain dead, right? Everything's done. But then, you'll donate a kidney, and then that kidney goes into a cooler, a primitive cooler on ice, gets shipped across the world, and then that kidney goes back into somebody, they hook everything back up, and boom, the kidney's just fine. Wait, that kidney's been dead for 24 hours, right? On ice, but yet it just popped right back up. So what we think is dead is not dead. Right, cells go into this protective phase where they can reduce how many reactive oxygen species they create, and they kind of go into a dormancy, and they just kind of hang out there for a while. So this person, you're calling them dead, but really they're not, right? So they could be revived. So even though you technically die, as long as they go through this process, and now the Cryonics Institutes, and they all have their different little formula that they use of this cryoprotectant. It's basically biological antifreeze, right? So, a frog can freeze solid for the whole winter.
Right.
Right? And then, all of a sudden, boop, jumping around, right? So it's not like it's new to nature,
I know, it's so
right?
strange. I see that.
And where did this frog's soul go, right? So it's I don't know, or what it's, it's chi, it's energy, right? So I feel that you could just be frozen, and when you're frozen, you're just outside of time, because in these institutes, you're at like 4 degrees above absolute zero. You're basically outside of time.
How are they testing? So they're testing it with animals? Is it like, how does it just for somebody who really knows? I mean, only seen it in like pretend in sci-fi movies.
Right. So here's where we're at with the technology. For the last 50 years, they've been trying to figure out, how do you freeze tissue without causing damage to the tissue? Because normally if you try to freeze a higher level organism with all the cells that we have and the density that we have, you get all these fractures. So you get like, cracks basically through the cells, through the DNA, all this kind of stuff. So if you were going to try to revive that person, like, you'd have to have crazy nanotech to go in there and repair all this stuff, right? Most likely that's never going to happen, or it'd have to be like way, way in the future, right? But now they have the ability where when they look at this tissue, it's not damaged, right? So they got the biological antifreeze down part, and they could probably improve it a little bit, but like they're at the point where like, we're getting at the point of like where the return's not going to be that great. Now all the science is going into how are we going to revive these people, right? But the really important part about cryonics is, can you be frozen without damage? Because then the future is going to be able to ping you back, right? And we don't have to worry about when in the future, because you're outside of time. If it takes 1,000 years, 2,000 years, you don't know the difference, right? So as long as you're preserved in that state. Now, some people are like, I don't want to come back into a world without my friends and all this kind of stuff. Well, so make sure your friends get frozen too. And, here's a really cool thing is, like, you have children. And so I tell all my patients with children, I'm like, if you buy a life insurance policy, does it insure your life? No. Somebody else gets the money.
Yeah.
Right? But if you buy a life insurance policy and you put that towards your cryonics, and you write it over to the cryonics company, well, then you did. Now you have life insurance.
But are we going to trust those guys? What if they go out of business?
They're pretty cool. They're pretty well funded. And a lot of these companies have really thought themselves out, especially like Alcor, where like their facility, like they're like, okay, when there's global warming and the sea comes up this high, we're going to be above that. And we're outside of these tornado areas, and they like found all these like great places, and they have these bunkers, and like, okay, what if all the power goes down? Like, where do we have extra power from? And they've pretty much thought like, if there's an apocalypse or World War III, you're going to be frozen just fine.
Okay, so they have these places, right? Yeah. And no one's, is anyone in there yet?
Oh yeah, there's thousands of people, but it should be way more. They actually, like, Bill Falloon and he's the CEO of Life Extension. He had to fight really hard against the government because it wasn't legal to be frozen. Like, you could be cremated, you could be buried, you can have all this stuff, but there was no like legal way to freeze.
It's just a bunch of old people that are frozen?
Oh no, young people, and that's the cool thing.
Like that had an accident or something?
So like,
or
they say the greatest stress in life is if you lose a child.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So think about this. Say you had a life insurance policy on a 5-year-old. How much is that going to cost?
Yeah, nothing.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And that life insurance policy, you write it over to Alcor. So like, say something horrible happened to a child and you got the chance to freeze that child. Now what do you have? Hope.
Yeah.
But if you put them in the ground, there's no more hope. All you have hope in is that they're in another place with your God or whatever you want to believe in. I'd rather him know that like my kid's frozen and he'll probably come back.
Will you write him a letter or send him a video so when they wake up and...
Just get frozen next to him.
And then who's gonna... It's a lot to think about.
It's a lot to think about. But like, this was never available to anybody before us. And now that it is available, people are like trying to find something wrong with it, rather than saying like, well, what is the possibility here? And this is such a cool technology. And like, I think eventually it's just going to be an extension of emergency medicine. Right. We're already seeing in emergency medicine, especially with little kids. Say a little kid is born in somebody's house and they swallow the meconium, right? And now they can't breathe and they turn blue and they're about to die, right? And the EMT, they can't save them. They try and they get to the hospital. Certain hospitals are set up where they induce coma and they drop that body temperature to near freezing. and they keep the kid there for days. Then they do this slow warming back up, and there's no brain inflammation, and the kids are fine. Where normally they would have been either a vegetable or dead, right? So this is already an extension of emergency medicine, and cryonics is just taking that to another level.
Have they put like a mouse to sleep and woken it up like 6 months later, or what are they doing? Or they're just not there yet?
That's where all the technology's at right now. Is like, how do we bring things back?
They've gotten it frozen,
and so we're just worked on it frozen. And I know we went down a whole rabbit hole.
No, that's amazing.
But that's like something I try to tell people, but really people are quite resistant. So that's just that whole mindset thing. Like people aren't really ready for all of these things, and
because you come into the world with this idea of you're here. Yeah. If you're lucky, you get old, and then you're gone. Right. I mean, death is it seems like the most definitive thing about being a human being.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be. I think that everything's changing now, where like, just even with layered, like, in his surfing, right? Mm-hmm. Say guys 20 years older than him, 30 years older than him. When they were his age, were they riding waves like him?
Not even close.
No, because they didn't have the practices set up. Right? They didn't have the medicine. They didn't have the supplements. They didn't know about the diet. They didn't know about the kind of training, right? All the breath work. Yeah. So like he's already extended, everything out. And it's just going to go further and further and further, but only to the people that want to adopt it.
Yeah. Do you like this, going back to a philosophical question, because in a way you only want to extend it if you can bring something positive, like your dad saying, hey, and also do something to help other people. Right. In a way, I wish it was sort of like we could only freeze people that when they come back, they're going to be kind and helpful and help out and help the group below them and all these things, because it feels like to keep more people alive that already were, because it makes me instantly think, well, only billionaires are going to be frozen. Right. And I don't know. It's just, it's a really interesting. Right.
Yeah. And Elon Musk he's really against a lot of longevity because he thinks that like the old school is going to stay in, like the old school politicians and the people that run the world and like all these people that are causing the problems are going to stay there and continue to cause problems because they're not open.
No. And they're a lot of them are unhealthy.
I think it's a little different, right? So I think that the same method that he did, that Elon did. So he started off like, did he make a Model 3 first? No. He made a really expensive Roadster, right? So it's the same thing that we're doing. So we're using the people that have the resources to prove out the model. And then in the future, we're going to be able to figure out, well, what is the most important things of this model? What's the most bang for the buck? So then we go from these really expensive to maybe not so expensive to finally we get something that many people can afford. And then hopefully when we prove out the model, we can start infiltrating regular medicine, right? And they'll start adopting, and then they'll say like, oh yeah, we figured out medical engineering. Right.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah.
But who cares, right? Like it gets done and then the people get the benefit of it all.
So what besides, and if I'm making a note, if we're not allowed to talk about this, we can cut this out. Yeah. The glycan age test.
Sure.
That you have. Mm-hmm. So this is here now.
This is here now.
Just like the mitochondrial functional test, the ME test.
The ME screen.
ME screen, sorry. So what is the glycan age test that you have? Because that's pretty new also.
Yeah, they're all giving us, the glycan age test is giving us a window into these residues, like how these types of sugars affect these immunoglobulins, right? And by looking at the different ways that they're doing that, we can see like how different systems are aging. There are so many of these new tests that are looking at little windows of your health. And so what we're finding is like, say you're looking at glycan age and it's giving you like, oh, this is your biological age, this is your chronological age. And then I go look at like an epigenetic test and it's telling me this is your biological age, this is your chronological age. And then I look at this other test, none of them are the same.
They're not.
So they're not really accurate in that way because we don't really know how to measure it yet. And so it's kind of like all lab testing. It's not like, oh, I shoot a laser over there and I can figure out what the temperature is that with really, really accuracy, right? But like even with like doing a lab test on you, first test in the morning, like we do this huge blood draw, right? And we look at all these markers. Well, if I drew you an hour later, they'd be a lot different.
Yeah.
And if I drew you in the afternoon, they'd be different. And so ideally what we have is we have implantable sensors on you all day, and we can like see all this stuff long term. In the meantime, we have to interpret everything.
Yeah, you're getting snapshots.
And we have, what they always call, what I always hated, but now I kind of like it, is the art of medicine, right? And so it's like, I'm going to go off all the things that I see. I'm going to look at your family history, we look at your genetics, and I'm talking to you, I learn a bit about you, I'm looking at your labs, and we kind of put it all together and we make a plan, and eventually the tools are going to get better and better and better. But what I've learned over the years is this is not black and white. You don't just look at that lab and, oh, that's an absolute truth, right? Now there's certain labs that like, oh shit, right? Like better do something, right? But, overall, like you got to look at things, especially hormones, because they fluctuate so much, right? When I first started doing functional medicine, I just started reacting to all these labs all the time. And I was like, oh God, now I'm an idiot, right? And so a lot like what Elon says, you go back to first principles. Do you understand the underlying mechanisms that are happening? Do you know the basic science really well? Because then you'll know how to interpret these things, and you'll be able to know like when to react, when not to react, right? When to see like, oh, that's just a glitch, right? Or that's just a variable that's outside the range. Like, don't worry about that. It's going to come back, right? And so over time, you kind of figure out how to do that. And I'm sure the machine learning and the AI is just going to really help us even more with that. Yeah. And lab tests coming down, implantable devices, coming around, wearables. Right.
Wearables are kind of touch and go though, right? Like they're sort of, there's only a few metrics that they're really actually catching.
Yeah.
When you say would you put something inside your body? Would you put it
Sure.
in? You would?
Why not?
I don't know.
It just depends on where it was and what the danger was. And
it's not even about danger. I just feel like I don't know. The idea of being
watched.
I guess if I have my phone on me, I guess I'm trackable pretty much. That's how it is.
We're all so tracked. I mean, we couldn't escape if we wanted to.
It's so true.
They all know where we're at. Yeah, so we're done. Even if you tried to drop off the grid, like good luck.
I know, right?
I mean, really. I mean, with facial recognition and everything else, and everyone's cameras everywhere, like good luck.
Ship sailed, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are obviously concerned with, the big ones are probably diabetes, just because it feels like it's prevalent, dementia and Alzheimer's, because not only for the same reason, I think it really scares the shit out of people for reasonable ideas. And
now we have ways of actually like predicting.
Right. Like you can, because some of this stuff can be beginning in your 20s. Like people don't realize. And I think the important thing with Alzheimer's and dementia, these are things that happen over a long period of time. Oh, yeah. You don't wake up and 2 years later, all of a sudden you have it. Yeah. So you have these things that make that pretty predictable if you're heading in that direction.
Yeah. And there's like certain genes, like ApoE gene, right? Like everyone should have that gene run. Right. Because, I mean, if you're homozygous ApoE44, you're 16 times more likely to have cardiovascular and Alzheimer's risk. So it's not, in functional medicine, it's like everyone gets it, right? In regular medicine, they almost never get it. Right. And you would think every cardiologist would order that test. Very few of them do. Yeah. Right? Even in cardiology, there's a newer test. It's called the Clearly exam. Mm-hmm. And, every guy that's like 40 years old should get it run. And, in Vietnam War, when those guys were coming back, they're like 18, 20 years old. And they had to do the Y incision, to do the autopsy. They found that those kids had like 20, 30% blockages in their arteries, in their coronary arteries. Right? So don't you want to know that? Yeah. Right? And you see, I mean, I've already lost friends of mine from high school and college, before they got to 50 from heart attack. Had they had a Clearly heart test run, I mean, we didn't have the tech back then, but like if they had it run, late 30s or something, they would have known. right? And say like, oh my gosh, you're in your 30s and you have 50% blockages. Well, there's things you can do to stop the progression of this and to even slightly reverse it. The really cool thing is there's a new company that's going to be coming out really soon, and they're going to be able to reverse atherosclerosis.
How?
Their technology is going to come as just kind of like Drano.
Really?
Yeah.
I like you and all your like household pipe and car analogies. I love it. Really?
So, yeah.
But
it's not here yet.
Yeah, but they're moving in that direction.
Yeah, there's a scientist. His name's Reason, and he's one of the head
Dr.
scientists.
Reason?
His name's Reason. Yeah, you can look him up. And,
I love it.
He's a brilliant dude. And
did someone in his family pass of that?
I don't know Reason's story, but the last time I saw him was at Alcor for the conference, the 50-year conference for cryonics.
The cryonics. That one threw me. I don't know if I'm going to be thinking about. That'll be at dinner time conversation with Laird tonight for sure. Things that are here now. I mean, peptides and all of these things. I love the idea of peptides. I've done, of course, some of the basics. Just from your experience and snapshot of what's here, and I know they sort of have peptides for very specific things. What are you liking peptides? Do you think they have a place in all of this?
They definitely have a place. They're not my first tier.
What is your first tier?
My first tier, number one, is spiritual practice. Because if you don't have a strong spirit, you're not going to make it. Right. I used to see it in the hospital. Like when I was a resident, I'd walk into somebody's room and there'd be like some 70-year-old lady and slight pneumonia, not really terrible or anything. Her counts were not so bad. The x-rays weren't that bad. And I'd be like, you're going to be okay. And then she'd be like, I lived a really good life. Yeah. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you're gone. She's
right?
Gone.
And gone, right? And then I walk in, there's this 90-year-old in total white out of the lungs, right? And she's screaming at the nurses when she can breathe, ripping off the mask, pulling the IVs out of her arm. She goes home, right? And that's powerful spirit, right? And if you have powerful spirit, like, you're going to do all right.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to give that to somebody, right? They have to want to work for it somehow. And I don't know if it's part of personality. So like personality testing, I use the Big Five. I love Jordan Peterson's toolkit that he has for everybody because it's so cheap. $10 to do your Big Five and $25 to do your self-authoring.
Yeah.
And
maybe just for people who don't know, explain just, your Big Five.
Yeah. So the Big Five breaks down into 15, right? And, it shows you how you're set up. And really the big ones I look at is what is your level of neuroticism?
Yeah.
Right? And if you're really high on neuroticism and you're really low on openness, we've got some problems, right? Because all these personality traits, what they do is they change your ability to see truth. That's your filter, right? So there's this truth in front of you, and now I got this neuroticism filter, and so it's making everything a lot worse than it really is. And then I got this low openness filter, and it's showing me that, oh no, don't do that, because that's outside the norm, right? And so we've got to learn about where are we, and we have to believe when we do the test. And so Dr. Peterson makes it really clear, when you do this test, be brutally honest.
Yeah.
Right? Do not answer these questions the way you want to. Answer them truthfully. And then you'll get a truthful personality test. And then you'll be able to see how much are you changing the truth in front of you? Right? And then when you're aware of that, well, now you've got a chance of seeing what really is. Right?
The whole country could use that right now.
Everyone could.
I mean, I think.
Right? And we use it. I use it as a tool in my practice because then I know how to talk to people.
Have you seen someone who really came in and some of it is just exposure. They just never had a friend or a mentor, anybody talk to them about this stuff or a family member. Have you had people that they really make a significant, and I'm talking maybe they're 50 years old. They're in their personality.
Yeah.
Have you seen them wildly different?
I see them not wildly different in their personality. I don't know if you can really change your personality all that much. But what you can do is you can become aware of how you perceive things differently and how you're going to emotionally react to things. And then you can change that. There's so much work done in like when your personality is set, and it keeps going younger and younger and younger. I think now it's at like 3. By 3 years old, your personality's set. Right. And so like,
so sad,
I'm always like, people, and I don't have kids, but I'm always really like, when I'm talking to my friends that are having kids, I'm just like, be home, be around those kids, because, their personality is being set in those first 3 years. Right. Try to be around as much as you can. You see like residents getting pregnant. And I'm like, that was a really bad idea. Right. Not, against anybody, because maybe they're older and they want to have kids and stuff like that. But like, sorry, like this is just the personality is set in those first 3 years, and then they have a lifetime of that's where they're set, and then they can learn to deal with it, but they can't change that very much. Yeah. Psychologists, they're taught that when you're dealing with somebody with a personality disorder, you have to tell them, proper ethics and morals is you tell them that you cannot help them change their personality. But if they find it beneficial to talk to you that they can work better in life, then that's one thing. But like you can say like, oh, I can help you with your depression. I can help you get out of that. Yeah. But your personality disorder, there's very, very low chance of being able to help somebody with a personality disorder.
That makes me think, I read somewhere that, speaking of that, ketamine psychotherapy, it seems like a good opportunity to bring that up, because, sure. I personally have sort of, as far as substances, have been really conservative my whole adult life. I used exercise and other things. I did start microdosing a couple of years ago. Nice. And I really, I liken it to having had a cement helmet on my brain to one that just feels a little softer. And I'm not reaching for words as much, just in a homeostasis. Sure. So as far as like that, but I have a lot of friends that have been, have talked about the ketamine psychotherapy, or even their microdosing ketamine. So you have an experience with this? Yeah,
I've been doing ketamine psychotherapy about 6 years now in the clinic.
Trying to change people's personalities? No, I'm just kidding.
I wish. I'll tell you what though. So there's different ways to do ketamine, and there's clinics all over that are doing things in ways that I don't think are all that beneficial. So there's lower dose ketamine, and then there's really high dose ketamine. Say you were to do low dose, and a lot of the research is around this kind of lower dose IV or intranasal, and you can do it maybe 2-3 times a week. You have to have a little break in between, or like you don't get the neurogenesis that you need, and you don't get all the brain changes. Those people will feel better. They really will. You'll break their pattern of depression. But they won't have a mystical experience. They'll feel better. And then you take the ketamine away, and they kind of go back to where they were. And so...
What's happening that they feel better and then they go back?
Because what you're doing is, so like, your body is, they call it, they hope your body gets into homeostasis, right? There is no such word.
Right. You float in and back.
Right. Your body's always like trying to make changes, trying to find balance, right? And so the way your brain's set up is, how you're sleeping, how you're interacting, what your thoughts are, what you're eating, like how much sun you have, like all these things like kind of balance you out. And so when you start doing ketamine, you're starting to like change how that pattern goes. And you're creating a little neurogenesis, you're creating a little bit more neurotransmitters, and so you're going to feel a lot better. But then you're going to go back to your ways, and everything's going to reset. What I like to do is I have people do their personality tests so they can kind of figure out where they're at. I have them do their self-authoring, so they have to deal with their past, they have to deal with their present, and they have to create a future for themselves, which is their purpose. Their purpose. Why do you want to live into the future? What do you want to do? Right? And then I have them make their intentions for why they want to go into quote unquote the spirit world, or into their subconscious mind, or, to talk to the divine, however you want to look at it. Right. And then I have them make 3 suggestions to themselves. Right. I'm like, look at your behavior, look at the 3 worst parts of your behavior, and make a suggestion to change each one of those for the better. from your perspective in your words. And then we talk about everything for a while, and then I get them ready for the experience. And they come into the clinic, and we put some binaural beats on, and they're laying in zero gravity, and they have an eye mask on. And I have them follow more of like a shamanistic way from Michael Harner. So Michael Harner, he studied a lot of shamans all over the world, and he tried to distill down like what was the same between all of them. What was the science of shamanism?
Right.
Right. And he came down to that it was the journey. Right. And how do you use the journey to find answers? And so we use that. And so I have them kind of read, Way of the Shaman and do some of the work on shamanism.org before they come in. And then we do the session, and it's a higher dose IV, and they go off into that space. While they're in there, every 5 or 10 minutes, I'll read them their suggestions. Because when you're under the influence of ketamine, you're highly suggestive. So I don't want to tell them anything from my view, right? So that would not be ethical.
What should I be investing in?
Right? I'm going to hop on one foot all the time, right? Or, whatever. So I'll read that to them. And then, and it's kind of controversial of like whether or not you guide somebody or whether you let them have their own experience. From doing this for a long time, I find that guiding is helpful. And I don't like overly guide, but I'll be like, so where are you at? And they're like, I'm at this waterfall. And it's beautiful. And I'm like, why are you there? Did you have an intention? Oh, yeah. Why don't you go find that? Oh, okay. Right? Because you can get lost in the beauty and all this stuff, right? But that's not why you're there. Right? And so, I go, I don't know if you're going to find what you're going to looking for, but looking at the waterfall, I know you're not going to find it. Right? So
move it on. Move on.
Move on, right?
Keep going.
And then they keep going. And like people have had these really amazing interactions, right? Like I've had people that were complete atheists that were met like by archangels and then taken to God, and then they had this experience of God talking to them and God taking them into the past of these horrible experiences that they had in the past, and they overcame them. Wow. Right. And they confronted these people while in their trip, and basically had a mystical experience, and that's what all of this meditation, all this stuff was for, is to have a mystical experience. Mm-hmm. And it's like the exact opposite of religion, right? Here, you're going to follow this pattern. And it was not based on that, because all of these saints and stuff, they didn't do that. They had a direct mystical experience.
Yeah, they were by the burning bush tripping out.
Yeah, we want to have that direct mystical experience. And then people that have the direct mystical experience, one time having an IV, make massive changes in their life.
I was going to say, can they, how sometimes you learn something in your life? We're so funny humans, right? Yeah. And our neural pathways and the grooves. I always say, got to jump the track. Because I catch myself and I go, how do I jump that track? Because it's just the groove, Yeah. But you're saying that people can actually do this experience and then, okay, I was heading down the right, I make a left turn and I'm on in something new.
And it's just so profound to them. It's not like they're even trying, right? Because they had this mystical experience. Now, here's what's really important is integration. You can have this mystical experience, and I've had patients do this, right? Have this amazing mystical experience, everything's awesome, and then they do none of the integration, right? Because they're supposed to come back and meet with me. They're supposed to do this journaling. I give them the whole transcript of what they said, mm-hmm. right? And then I also do this like debriefing at the end, because you'll forget a lot. Ketamine kind of makes you forget. Yeah. So like right after the drip, when they're just laying there, I'm just like, you remember when you were over by that waterfall and you told me blah, blah, blah. What else happened? And then they tell me like a paragraph. And then remember over here, you had this. And I only get like 1/100th of what they experienced, mm-hmm. right? But I have like these key moments throughout the thing. And then I ask them all these questions over about 2 hours. And then I get pages and pages of transcript that they're telling me all the stuff that happened. And if they just went home, they would probably forget almost 90% of it. Yeah. But now they have this transcript, and I don't know how accurate it is. It's just what I wrote down, right? So I go, here, take this, go read it, and add to it every day for the next week. And then at the end of the week, we're going to sit down and we're going to figure out What did you really learn that you need to change in your life? And then you got to do it, right? Because, God or this entity or whatever, or this experience you had said that you have to go this way.
Yeah.
Right? And you believe it. But if you don't do it, you're just going to go right back to the same things you're already doing. And so it's a tool, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to do ketamine and everything's going to be great.
You're landing on the bullseye, right?
Like it's just another tool, but you still have to do all the work.
Yeah.
But the people that do, they have profound experiences and they change their life drastically.
I always think it's interesting. Like, imagine if you go home to your partner, if you have one, or your kids, and you're like, no, I'm different, and they're like, we'll see, because imagine everyone has to catch up. Okay. So I departed. So you're talking about, first for you, it's your life force, it's your spirit, your will, your desire to be here. That's your spiritual self is the number one.
Number one.
Where do you go from there?
Okay, from there, so you got your spirit. You got a solid practice, and maybe it's not. You don't have a solid spirit yet, but you have a plan for it.
Yeah.
Right. Great. And then we just keep watching. Are you moving along that? And then we look at your lifestyle. We got to change your lifestyle, right? Because we already know if you have a powerful spirit and you have a really good lifestyle, you're probably going to live to be 100 and you'll be really healthy without anything else.
Amazing.
Right? I mean, look at all these blue zone people. Like, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have senolytics. They don't have hormone replacement.
Right.
They don't have pharmaceuticals. They don't have any of this stuff. They just have those two things. And they have community.
Yeah.
Right? So let's do what we already know works. Right? So we have experience from the blue zone people. We have experience from the people like living in Shaolin Monastery. We have the people from all these other monasteries. So we know how to live. Right? So let's do that first. Right? Now we can ensure that, we'll have a fulfilling life and we'll be healthy most of our life and be able to move appropriately our whole life. Now let's add to that. So one of the first things we add, hormone replacement.
Yeah. And you're a big proponent of that. You think if you're
lives.
If you're a 50-year-old guy, testosterone's probably going to be a friend.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to explore, and obviously everybody's different and you're getting your blood work done, but you like pellets, is this right?
Yeah. And people, you'll have people that like this or like that. Yeah. In my experience, the people that are doing other forms of testosterone, their numbers are all over the place. Right? And some people are like, well, natural testosterone is going up and down. It's like, yeah, it goes up and down like crazy all day. We don't have tech to do that. Right? But giving somebody an injection, peaking their testosterone up, and then letting it crash, and then giving another injection, I just don't think that that's the best way to do it. Plus, when you do a pellet, what you're able to do is you can mix that with a little bit of an anastrozole. And people think that anastrozole is going to go systemic and it's going to like block all your estrogen and stuff like that. It doesn't work like that. Like you're just keeping it really local. It's a super low dose. You just don't want a lot of that testosterone to get turned into estrogens. And you're not really keeping estrogens all that low. You're just not letting estrogen go up that high from the conversion of testosterone to estrogen.
Right.
And you're getting a much better kind of like every 3 months, you're getting a little peak and a little trough, but not crazy up and down. When you go up and down really fast with testosterone, you change mood drastically. There's these clinics that will do a testosterone injection once a week. Those guys will go like up to 2,400 and then they'll crash down to like 400 or 500 and then they go all the way up. And then like, these are the people that like, they lashed out against somebody and then, they got a little rage and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm just not a big fan of that. Right. So I'm just like, if anything, if we can just keep your mood dialed in, right. And we give you some testosterone so you don't lose your muscle mass and your bone mass and your brain mass and things like that, we're doing a great job. And I don't like giving super physiological levels of testosterone. It's like, if an 18-year-old didn't need it, you don't need it.
Right.
Right. if you let guys do what they want,
Yeah, they will take as much as they
they'll
can
take
get.
as much as they can get.
Because they think they'll get like this and
right.
Yeah.
And you see the guys that, have been on testosterone when they were younger and they don't have testicles. You can barely find them in their scrotum.
Oh, really?
Right. They're just gone. And like in our clinic, we measure testicular size over time, and we use different methods. We use enclomiphene, we use kisspeptin, sometimes we use HCG, whatever it is. And we use that in conjunction, and we like to rotate. So your body kind of gets used to certain things after a while, and the feedback loop will kind of not work as well. So as long as you keep confusing it and switching it up, and then you have people stay active sexually, a lot of people just don't. And if you don't use it, you kind of lose it. Right. So, in your body, if you're not active.
So that's, you prescribe, you're like,
yeah,
listen, please go home and have sex.
It's like when animals are no longer reproducing, there's like certain mechanisms and we don't understand all of them. It's just like, you're useless. Right. And so you should, down regulate all this stuff and let another person take your
the
place.
Resources. Yeah.
Right. And so like, it's ancient biology. So you got to keep that going.
Yeah.
So that I like pellets for that. I even like pellets better for women.
You do?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Rebecca Glazier has tons of data. You can go to her website, hormonebalance.org. Her and Dr. Dimitrakis, they have pretty much laid it all out. They treat breast cancer with
another
it.
Greek.
Another
there we
Greek.
Go. Hey.
Greeks are all over the scientific literature. I don't know how, from such a small country, how they're all over the place, but they are. When you give women testosterone, this is pretty much unanimous from most women, is like, you gave me my life back. I was in brain fog. Yeah. Now I'm not.
I am 54 and I take a pill though, and it's every third day.
Yeah.
I never went off a cliff. But it was sort of said, what was happening too is I was also getting AFib a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like maybe the load, my workload, my workout load.
Sure.
So it feels, so far so good.
Yeah.
I should probably look at everything though.
I just don't like the way that certain hormones get metabolized by the liver.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Everything you take orally will hit the liver first before it hits your circulation. It's a protection mechanism.
Right.
Right. And we know that metabolites of hormones can cause harm if they're not in balance. And whenever you take a hormone orally, you'll make more metabolites right off the bat because you can have less in circulation. So it means you have to take a higher dose.
Right.
When you do something like a pellet, it's bypassing that. And it's that very slow release.
Go straight in.
Right. And
what about for men, their hair? Because I get that question a lot.
So a lot of hair loss isn't really testosterone. It's inflammation.
Oh.
And you will get some hair loss from testosterone, mostly if you're converting to dihydrotestosterone, DHT, and how much you're converting. And whether your body's even sensitive to it or not. Because I've seen people all over the place. Yeah. Where they have low ADHD, but they don't have any hair. Or they have high DHT and they have hair. So like, it's not.
There's no rhyme and reason on that.
It's not straightforward. And a lot of it is, what's your nitric oxide production like? Do you stimulate your scalp? Right? What's your stress like? Like, what's your inflammation like in your body? Like, there's so many factors that go into hair.
Yeah.
And like, just think about, like, you've seen people that like had a really stressful event and all of a sudden they have a gray streak or a white streak through their hair and it stays for the rest of their life.
The stress patch, it's crazy.
Right? Or you look at every president except for Trump, like what happens to their hair.
I call those presidential years. You see them as 4 years, but it looks like 12.
It looks, they just age so much.
So much.
Right? And what a horrible job that is.
Oh, yeah. And they say really only like sociopaths want that job anyway. Yeah. So you have your life force, your lifestyle, and then are we getting into to the sexy little fun things?
Yeah. So then we're doing like hormones and we're doing pharmaceuticals.
Oh, pharmaceuticals.
And, it's really funny because a lot of patients be like, "You're going to give me pharmaceuticals? I thought you're holistic." Right? And I'm just like, we use whatever tool works.
Yeah. Back to the tools.
If you look at there's a bunch of meta-analysis that have been done for Alzheimer's. And one of them is they look at all of these people that had statins and all these people that didn't have statins. Well, the people that didn't have statins have a much higher incidence of Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
right? And I get people like, oh, I'm not taking a statin, right? And they think that all statins are the same. And, I like to break statins down just to make it easy. There's fat-soluble statins and there's water-soluble statins. I like fat-soluble statins for cancer because it can block some of these pathways that cancer can use energy for. Mm-hmm. I like water-soluble statins for like controlling cholesterol and for decreasing inflammation. And then there's high-dose statins and there's low-dose statins. High-dose statins tend to have a more negative effect on mitochondria, right? And they also can raise liver enzymes and things like that. Low-dose statins don't have that effect. So and there's only like two really important water-soluble statins. There's Crestor and there's Pravastatin, or Rosuvastatin and Pravastatin. And I like them at low dose. And the odd thing is that like at 5 milligrams of Rosuvastatin, you get 85% of the effectiveness. But people dose all the way up to 40 milligrams. Why? Right? So I like to use low-dose medicines, and then I will use another medicine, right, in conjunction with it. And so that you get these synergistic effects by working on different systems. And so I like a lot of medicines. I like, angiotensin receptor blockers. I think they're awesome. They work on, there's one called telmisartan, and it protects your kidney, and it works on PPAR gamma, so it helps your metabolism work better, right? And so it has all these, lowers your blood pressure. So it does all kinds of really great things. And at low dose, it works fantastic. Yeah. Right? And, low dose statins, they work fantastic. I like Zetia. It blocks the absorption of saturated fats.
Interesting.
So like there's a lot of...
You have a lot of tricks too.
There's colchicine. Colchicine is like one of the oldest drugs on the planet. Like, the ancient Greeks knew about it.
What does it do?
It drops inflammation.
Oh.
It's fantastic. They used it for all kinds of stuff in the past. Now we just use it for people that have gout flare-up, But like
gout is a beast.
Yeah, and and that's mostly lifestyle.
I know. I have a family member that has. It's like the craziest thing you've ever seen.
Right. It's horrible.
Yeah. So going back, because I think a lot of people. Sorry to circle back to the peptides. So how would somebody, if they were going to explore taking peptides, what would be the, kind of the reasonable way to approach it? Make
sure all the priorities in line.
Yeah. You're doing your part.
Yeah. Get your spirit in line, get your exercise, get your sleep, get all that, get your diet, get everything lined up, get your hormones balanced. Get your nutrition on point, get lab work done, make sure you're not inflamed, right? Your cholesterol's in control, your sugars are really well controlled, right? You have your hormones balanced, all this stuff, right? And then you look at what are my vitamin levels like? Take a look at that. Do I have the right supplement regimen, right? Okay, now we can start playing with peptides, right? Otherwise, it's like you're trying to hack. Yeah. I don't like hacks. I know I like the biohackers.
No,
it's cool,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Hacking's a really bad idea, right? It's just like, okay, I'm going to be the one that's running the show on this whole thing, but I don't have all the knowledge and I didn't put all my ducks in a row, right? It's kind of like, I don't need the Formula One engineers. I can tinker with that thing just as good, right? Yeah, sure you can. Right? And maybe you'll do some things that are cool, but overall...
You might make it around the track once, right?
Right? So just it's better when you have a really good system.
Yeah.
And, I like algorithms. Do this first, do this second. They work really well, right? And there's exceptions to everything. But if you don't know how to do it, then you don't know how to break the rules.
Right.
Right? And so... I like all that stuff, and I just like putting it around. As far as peptides, what I do like, I love BPC 157.
Yeah.
Right? It's just fantastic, right? And it's never going to harm anybody. I've never seen it do anything negative. It's just made people heal faster. I like thymosin beta 4, and now you can't really get that, so it's called TB500. It's a smaller peptide chain.
Yeah, what do they got going right now? They're going for a lot of interesting stuff. Because I know Conifer a little bit, and there's conversations around kind of the FDA sort of coming in on some of this stuff. Even NAD, I was hearing, they're doing some wild stuff, huh?
Yeah, the FDA is a really crazy group.
Do you have to be careful?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
it just seems like, is it working too much?
I wish the FDA was there to really do good science and protect us. It's just influenced too much by the people that have interest in things.
Yeah.
Most of the people that work at the FDA in the higher levels, when they retire, they are so set up.
Yeah, they'll have another job on the board.
Right?
Sure.
Whenever you incentivize people like that, how are you going to get them to stay ethical? Like, it's just
because they are even. I heard even not turmeric, but like curcumin. They were trying to regulate even having access. And here in California too, you're really having a hard time getting a lot of these peptides and things.
Oh, and all you have to do is like go Google Bill Falloon and all the money he spent fighting the FDA. Right? I think he spent something like $500,000 or $600,000 of his own money over the years. Plus, a lot of his friends have thrown in money, so it's probably over $1 billion fighting the FDA. If they didn't, you wouldn't have an acetylcysteine, you wouldn't have B12, you wouldn't have all of these things that are just regular supplements available to you. They would be pharmaceutical. And, if you have somebody on a really robust supplement plan, they could be spending upwards of $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Imagine if those were pharmaceuticals, how much that would cost. It would just, no one could afford it.
No.
I mean, who can afford $1,000 a month? Right? Not a lot of people. Right? And, and you don't have to spend that, right? That's for the people that are trying to really like push the limit.
Yeah.
But, everyone should be taking like an omega-3.
You like the algae ones, right? More than a little bit, or listen. I meant talking to you. It's not about. I'm just interested in your point of view.
So, I'm vegan since '97.
Yeah.
Right, and it's for my own reasons. It's mostly like where I was talking about with the burrito. Right, I wasn't in.
Yeah.
And also all the work I did with environmental science. So I really know the impact on the planet, and I know the impact on these animals. They're not in these pretty little farms.
No.
Unfortunately. So, and the other thing is toxins. So that's the one thing that our ancestors had over us, is they didn't have all these toxins to deal with.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've noticed with people that eat a lot of fish is they're the most toxic patients. My patients that eat tons of sushi, they're loaded with BPA, mercury, lead, organophosphates, because it bioaccumulates.
Yeah.
Right? There's one ocean.
Tony Robbins talked about how when he was trying to be super healthy and ate a ton of fish. Yeah. And he had to go through an intense detoxing.
Yeah, right. So the fish oil you can get today is molecularly distilled, the good stuff. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have to really worry about that stuff. I use the algae stuff, but in the end, it's just, are you getting eicosapentaoic acid? Are you getting docosahexaenoic acid? Are you getting docosahexaenoic acid? And you can measure these. We measure them every 3 months, right? And we measure the ratio between the omega-3s and the omega-6s. So it's not cut or dry, but like most of the omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. Most of the omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. And we try to keep that ratio high on the omega-3 side. Mm-hmm. And, there's a saying in functional medicine, if we could give everyone in the world omega-3 and vitamin D, about a quarter of all diseases would go away. So
it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Like the vitamin D thing really blows my mind on how simple and old fashioned it is, and how much it can protect us.
And it's really not that old, right? So I gave my grand rounds on vitamin D, and most of the people didn't know any of that information. I had like 120 slides or something on it, and I went into the kind of the detail. And if you look at wild animals running around, their vitamin D levels anywhere around 100 to 150. Mm-hmm. And if you look at hunter-gatherers, they're usually like 80s or above, something like that, just from living out in the wild and stuff like that. And then your average American, below 30.
Yeah.
And if you have dark skin, I've seen like 7, 6. And if you look at meta-analysis of vitamin D levels compared to cancer risk, if you're lower than 60, your risk of cancer is much higher than the people that are above 60.
Yeah. Because
vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's a corticosteroid hormone, and it works on over 200 genes of your immune system. So if it's a hormone replacement, right? And it's just as good to take it orally as it is to go get sun. And I don't want to look like a hunter-gatherer.
I
right?
don't either. I have vanity. I've already been outside quite a bit. I mean, you know,
Right?
and you know what's interesting? You know, so Laird, you saw Laird earlier.
Yeah.
And he still has to supplement with vitamin D. And I don't know a person more outside than Laird.
Well, he probably uses sunscreen.
He does not use sunscreen.
He doesn't?
He never has used sunscreen.
Really?
Well, in the beginning, it was because you don't want sunscreen in your eyes, burning your eyes when you're on a giant wave.
That makes
And
a lot of
then
sense.
when we got information about how toxic sunscreen was, Laird was like, forget it.
Right.
And then it's even like when you're out in the sun, I heard that if you even wash your skin with soap sort of within a certain period of time after being in sun, you don't allow your body to even make the vitamin D.
Taking the oil away.
Right. So sometimes I'm like, okay, privates and pits, try to let the skin do its thing.
Yeah.
So fish oil, vitamin D.
Those are key.
And so I'm happy in keeping it simple because they talk about vitamin sort of, you know, fatigue, and after kind of two and a half pills, I think the drop off's like 80% or something insane like that. So we'll get people to keep it simple. What about skin? I mean, listen, even from a vanity point, I think we feel better when we look better, when we're radiant. And I know a lot of that is it sort of takes care of itself with exercise and food and feeling pretty good. You project that, but do you have anything that you're doing at your institute for the skin specifically?
Yeah, we're doing a bunch of things.
I bet you are. That's the core. That's a lion's share of your business. We're crazy. What can we say?
I really never wanted to do anything with aesthetics. I just didn't. Right?
It's part of the deal.
But it's part of the deal.
It's part of the deal.
Here's one of the
And you're
things.
telling us to have sex, so we have to try to stay attractive to our partner.
If you can get somebody in the door for aesthetics, and then you start educating them, and you're like, you really want to look good, you have to work on the inside, right?
Imagine
Otherwise, you're going to look like plastic Barbie over there.
Yeah, that's weird.
Right?
Yeah.
So vitamin C is huge. Most people are really deficient in vitamin C. Vitamin C is water soluble. So if you're not taking a source that's going to stay long-term in your body, and like, which is, bound to fat, it's not going to go. So it's another cheap supplement you can take is vitamin C. And that's how you make collagen. You need to have vitamin C to make collagen. And then you need to have like proline, lysine, and glycine. And so you'll see people taking a lot of collagen extracts, right? And basically all it does is it gets broken down into those amino acids. And then your body uses those amino acids to make new collagen as long as there's a stressor for your body to make new collagen. And that's the huge thing is there has to be a stressor or nothing gets done. Like, say you went on a high protein diet, but you didn't work out. Are you going to get big muscles?
Right.
No.
So
you're just going to wreck your kidneys and your liver, right? So
what kind of stressor for getting your body to make more collagen?
So just exercise is going to do it, right? Moving the skin around, like stretching and things like that are going to help. You see people like, there's like all that face yoga stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
It actually works.
Really?
Right? But who's going to be diligent enough to do stuff like that, right? And then like if you do RF microneedling, and there's a bunch of different devices, Morpheus 8, different things like that. There's even just standard microneedling, which is just giving the skin a stressor so that it can grow back in the right way. Really basic things like that. And then there's all these topicals you can buy. Right. And you can go to the dermatologist.
Do you think that really works?
And you can buy like all these really expensive stuff. Most of the stuff works on the dead skin. So it makes the dead skin look better. Right. Some of the stuff works on defensins, and that allows your body to like increase the quality of the stem cell layer. So we like that kind of stuff. There's also certain peptides, which is another thing that helps you make more collagen.
What peptide? Come on. Do we know? Do you remember?
There's a few of them. There's copper peptides that work really well. There's DBM that makes your hair grow, which is also another stimulant. There's a bunch of them, and we have them in a cream so that you can put them on your skin, and it does help, but you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
Right?
Imagine that.
And then, now there's like some new lasers that have come out. There's a company called Photona, and their laser is not like the old CO2 lasers. It's nasty, right? Like you'd sit there and like you just see smoke coming off of people's skin, and then
burning flesh.
You'd have to like put all these like moisturizers and stuff all over them, and they'd be out for a while.
Silver.
Now you don't have to do that anymore, right? So now these new lasers, they actually work really well, and so the future is really in a lot of these new lasers. And in this RF microneedling, because it kind of tightens the skin up and it stimulates the skin to grow.
Can I avoid a facelift?
I would think so. Like, a lot of the plastic surgeons would say no, right? They're going to say like over time, you're going to have to pull some of the skin up, right?
Yeah. Well,
I think that the future, the technology is getting better and better every year, that you won't have to do that. Like if you were 80 and you never had any work done and you weren't keeping up, maybe you would need something if you wanted that drastic of a change. Right.
Yeah, I'm just talking about for people, because there's a lot of people who they try to do the right things, and time is what it is. And who wants to fight time? I have 3 daughters. I don't need to look 20.
Yeah.
I celebrate being, but then the idea of like, well, maybe you could just kind of keep things rolling.
Yeah, and so
you have good skin.
Yeah, I don't really do any of that stuff.
Oh, whatever.
I just got
You have a
lucky.
Mediterranean diet.
I just got lucky.
Oh my gosh.
And I really think it's from the inside. Like, if it's really big about if you have an anti-inflammatory diet.
I agree.
And you have low toxin intake.
Yeah, because even like people don't realize those spots and things, you can avoid pushing that off for a long time if you're not highly inflamed.
And just work on, I like regenerative techniques like those things.
Mm-hmm.
You can do plastics. There's really good plastic surgeons that make it look natural.
They do. I know.
Right? There's some really good ones out there.
I've done some research.
Right? And there's
checked it out.
real botch guys out there too, right?
I live in LA.
Then there's facial fat transfers that work really well. They don't last super long, but I like them better than filler.
Yeah, filler scares me.
You take fat and you mix it with PRP, like real PRP.
Yeah. What's that? What do you mean when you say it like that? Real PRP. Come on, what's the fake PRP?
So if you ever go anywhere to get PRP done and they pull out these little yellow tubes, just run.
Okay.
It's how PRP was done before we had these advanced kits. Those tubes, if you read on the label, it's from the BD makes these tubes, and it says, "Do not inject this into a human."
Oh wow!
Right? Right. It's just for lab use, but it's used all the time because they're cheap. Like they're super cheap, these tubes, and you can draw a bunch of these tubes, and you throw in the centrifuge, and you pull the plasma out, and you're like, "Here's your PRP," and you look at the tube, and if the tube looks like this color, you just have plasma. Really expensive plasma. You don't have platelet-rich plasma. So like the good kits, like we'll have in the office, like we'll take 60 cc's of your blood, and we'll concentrate that down anywhere from 7 cc's down to like 3. So we'll take all the platelets that were in 60 cc's of blood, and we put it down into that tiny little amount. And the platelets are what's doing all the healing basically on you. Some of the other cells are a little bit helpful, but when you get it down to that concentration, it looks like fruit punch. Then you have real PRP. And when you put it through a blood analyzer, you can actually see how many platelets are there, right? And a lot of the docs have never trained anywhere to like extract and measure and do all this kind of stuff. They're just, this is how I was taught. Yeah. Right? And that's what they do. And, nothing against them or anything, but you're just not going to get the healing component. And so there's a lot of people that have come to me like, oh yeah, I did PRP. It didn't work. Yeah. Right. I'm like, well, what did it look like? Yeah. Right. Did they draw this massive amount of blood out of you and then like concentrate it down to this tiny little bit? Right. And then how bad was the damage? Because like, let's say you had a really bad knee. Yeah. Like I was just sitting with a patient of mine who's, I've known him a really long time. And he's like, I want to do some regenerative medicine. And like, I'm like, no. And he's like, well, this is what you do. And I'm like, yeah, your knee's shot, dude. Like you need a knee replacement. I'm one of those people. I tried everything and I have a knee replacement now. So I think sometimes too, it's knowing what's for what. What's for what, right? Like, I'm lucky. I've torn my ACL. I've torn vastus medialis oblique off the bone. I've ripped my meniscus, but like I can still squat all the way down. I still snowboard. I still do everything because like every time I had an injury, I did a rehab and I've done some regenerative on it and I'm able to keep that going. And I don't know how long I'll keep my knee. I'm hoping that like the new technology will keep there, and I can keep doing shockwave therapy on it and things like that, and keep it strong, and I'll keep my knee.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't cause me any issues, and I think a knee replacement for me would be overkill.
Yeah.
Right. And it would actually like put me back from the abilities that I have now. But like, you see somebody and they have like 90 degrees of motion in their knee, like they can't bring their heel to their butt.
Yeah.
Right. And they can't extend their knee all the way, and they have pain all the time.
Well, it's the pain and the lack of function.
Right.
And it's bone on bone.
And I'm like, you need a knee.
Yeah. Just do it.
And like the new knees, like if you go to somewhere like the Stedman Clinic in Vail.
Yeah.
Like the patients that I've had that gone there, like, months later, they're like, oh, I just had the best game of golf. And, like, I feel totally stable.
It's
and
crazy.
It's quality of life.
Yeah, that's true. And the emotional part of being in pain all the time. So maybe we can just round this out with stem cell, because that's also, you hear people going to stem cell, they're going to Mexico, they're going to here, going to there. If someone wanted to explore stem cell therapy, I think they're in Utah, right? They're making certain things kind of more legal.
They're making it a little easier in Utah for things. Some of the states are making some changes. The only cells that we're able to use here in the U.S. are mesenchymal. Mm-hmm. So you have 3 types of tissue: endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. All the mesenchymal cells come from mesoderm. So they can basically work the best on that type of tissue. But there's 3 types of tissue in your body. Right? Now, that's not to say that those cells can't help the other tissues. Because what we find that a lot of these stem cells do is they don't take up residence and start growing. They communicate signals to the damaged cells on how to repair themselves. Or they can tell those cells to, recycle themselves, go through apoptosis. And that's basically the technology that we have for stem cells. Now, in the lab, you can take these stem cells and you can port over like a matrix. Like they can take like a heart, and they can dissolve all the cells off, and you just leave like the skeleton of the interstitial matrix, and then you pour stem cells over it, and you can basically make a new organ. That's the kind of the future of like making organs. Mm-hmm. Right. And so then you could take your cells and pour it over this matrix and give yourself a new organ, kind of. Right. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Mm-hmm. Right. So stem cells have all this potential, but right now the potential that what we're using them for is for reprogramming. And it can do really wondrous things. Like you can use mesenchymal stem cells. They're showing like you can help people that have gone through paralysis or partial paralysis, and they do it intrathecally, which is in the spinal cord, right into that fluid. They get headaches and all the kind of standard stuff you do when you do lumbar puncture, but like they're showing some benefit there. In the past, when they tried to do stuff like that, and they did it with embryonic, like they caused teratomas and they caused more damage than they did good. But now we're learning like a lot more, like how many cells can you give, what kind of cells can you give, that kind of stuff. The benefit for embryonic, which is completely shut down in this country for non-scientific reasons. The reason that we really want to explore embryonic cells, or what we call pluripotent cells, is they can express Yamanaka factors. And we've already shown that if you want to reverse age, mm-hmm. you take one of your cells, fibroblast, and you expose it to Yamanaka factors, and you can reverse that cell all the way back to its embryonic stage. Now, when you do that in the lab, that cell is more likely going to kind of create cancer in its line as it grows. So we don't really know how to control Yamanaka factors yet, but we're learning. And probably in the near future, we're going to be able to do IVs of Yamanaka factors. Now, if you use embryonic stem cells, they already express Yamanaka factors, and they know how to communicate to a cell so that they don't cause those kind of problems, right? And even if you inject embryonic cells, they don't take up residence. They just communicate. Now, if you put a whole bunch of embryonic cells together in one confined space, well, they're going to try to make a baby. Except they're not going to be able to do that very well. They make a teratoma, and that's a really bad idea. Yeah. But if you distribute them, then they work really well. So, I mean, once there's changes in the government and worldwide, we are accepting some of these embryonic cells. I think they're the ones that they're going to be using the most. And even beyond that, what you want to be able to do is you want to take an embryonic cell and you want to encourage it down one line of cells so that you can use it for whatever tissue that you want it to fix. So we have a lot of work to do in the stem cells, but right now we're showing promise, like people with really crazy inflammatory conditions, regenerative medicine, all this stuff, we're showing stem cells work, and they're stem cell byproducts. So when a stem cell talks to another cell, it's using these packaged little balls of fat, and they're called exosomes. And inside of they're basically microRNA and other signaling peptides that tell that cell what to do. And so you can get exosomes now, and the FDA doesn't really care so much about exosomes.
Yeah.
They're not going after people. You're still not to really use them IV, although it's widely done.
I've had that done.
How'd you feel?
I felt okay. I mean, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is repetitive trauma, like, knees and stuff. And also, like everybody, I probably packed all my any emotional stuff down in like some people put it in different places. I put it in my hips. Then being a jumping athlete, I think from my knees to my hips, I could probably use just not only external work, internal work, trying to figure out how to get some of that stuff out. I've been trying to do that.
And a lot of that's vagus nerve.
Yeah.
Right? I send a lot of people for pelvic floor physical therapy. And
that's a breathing component too, right?
Oftentimes. Yeah. So the longest cranial nerve is the vagus nerve. And it innervates all your organs, and it goes all the way down to your tailbone, right? Down to the place between the genitals and the anus. And, in yoga, we always talk about Mula Bandha, and people get it wrong almost all the time. And it's taught wrong all the time. There's a really great book, Mula Bandha, The Master Key. It's an out of print book, but if you want to really learn about bandhas, you're going to need to read that book.
Okay.
Bandhas are supposed to be energetic, not physical.
Yeah.
And so in yoga class, they'll say, pull up on, your perineum, right? If you pull up on your perineum and you do that all the time, you're going to cause a lot of issues, because you're going to be like overstimulating that nerve, and you'll cause all the problems that you're trying to get away from. It's just you're trying to stimulate the energy to go up your spine, right? In Qigong, we do this breathing, and we breathe down the front of the body, and we breathe back up the back of the body, and you go through all the major points. There's large circle of heaven and small circle of heaven. Yoga does similar stuff. They just don't get into the nitty gritty like that. And if you really understand bandhas, you start releasing all of this issues and all this really tightness. That muscle tension in the perineum causes all kinds of issues, from anxiety to just fear. It'll shut down your digestion. You'll get bloating. You'll have you'll have constipation. And then, sometimes you get this mixed, like diarrhea, constipation, all these issues. Your immune system gets low. So that's really when we try to get people to pay attention, right? Get into your breathing. And I send a ton of people to one of our practitioners. It's Dr. Eugenie Pabst. She's biofeedback specialist, and she hooks you up to all this stuff, and she shows you is your breathing in coherence? Is your heart in coherence? How do they look together, right? And, she hooks you up to all this machinery beyond what an Oura ring, you see your heart rate variability on the Oura ring, but her stuff's much better, and you can actually really start affecting heart rate variability. You get yourself into coherence. You get real good control of your vagus nerve. Yeah. That's pretty much a must for everyone. And the resistance I get for doing that training is massive. Yeah. Especially among people that are high functioning. Oh yeah, because everything that makes it work for you is what's not working for you. So you have to figure out how to separate. Oh yeah. What's working and what's not working, and then trust. You know, I was told that that I power through everything. He's like, why don't you try using your wings a little bit? And I understood what that meant. So I couldn't agree with that more. I said, I've stretched, I've done this stuff, and my quads are like beef jerky. He's like, those are emotional locks. Those are not, and it. Everybody knows when somebody says something to you that is true about yourself. Yeah. Of course, you're like, yeah,
You're right.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing. So, well, listen, Dr. Pazio, I could go on and on. Because there's so much to learn. Obviously, not only do you probably can't take a ton more patients. Is there a way for people to work with you, even if they can't be a member of your institute, or to connect with maybe some of the things that you guys are offering?
Sure. The big thing is, the Institute for Medical Maintenance Engineering is just getting launched now. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be able to handle a lot more people. And it'll be the same protocols. It'll actually be a lot better because we'll have better software and we'll have better trained practitioners, and the liaisons will have better tools, and the patients are going to be empowered by the app, right? And then they'll also be able to educate themselves just by going to the conferences. Mm-hmm. And, knowing that what they're learning is open source and that it's not just some proprietary thing that I came up with. I think that is going to really empower them and give them more faith into doing that. That's where to start, and just doing the basics that we talked about, right? Like, figure out something to make your spirit strong, right? Get all your ducks in a row as far as, all the things you need to do. Yeah. And you don't have to come to me for that. It's readily available, right? Do your zone 2 cardio.
You like sprinting too.
I love sprinting. You get massive changes in your mitochondria when you sprint and when you lift heavy things. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I just wanted to kind of show, Dr. Hemo Patel did a mitochondrial test on me in December. And he hadn't joined up with us yet. And I had just met him. And when my results came back, he's just like, "What are you doing?"
Because you got happy mitochondria.
And he's just like, "We've done almost 400 of these tests, and you have the highest mitochondrial score." But I'm 56, and he's done 30-year-olds.
Sure.
Right? And so I'm like, well, I'll show you the protocol. And so I think it's everything that we're doing. I don't think it's one thing.
Right.
Because we're doing so many different things and so many different levels. And I also think that I didn't just start in my 50s. Right? I think that all those years in Boulder and doing all that stuff, had a pretty major impact.
Well, in your 5 minutes. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, right.
All those little things, even maybe when you're in a very stressful time.
Yeah. Oh. And now, my days are really crazy because I'm doing the Pazio Institute and I'm building the IMNE.
Yeah. And
so I'm traveling a lot and I'm speaking a lot, and we're writing a book.
Oh, you're doing a book now.
And, so there's a layperson's book, and then we're also making medical maintenance engineering handbook, for practitioners. Mm-hmm. And, we're working out, how do we do this, basically accreditation for people. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But even with all that, you can still find ways to stay calm.
Yeah.
So, and keep your mitochondria working, because, your mitochondria are the energy. Mm-hmm. And you can have an awesome factory, and if you don't have enough energy to make the product, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right. And so I really think that the mitochondrial testing is really important to start really implementing. It's just expensive, and so we're trying to get it in now, and educating people why they want to spend the money on it and things like that. But when you sprint, you blow through all your ATP and you blow through all your creatine kinase, and you have about 8 seconds of top fuel. Right? Your mitochondria can't keep up, right? You keep up for about 8 seconds, and then you can't keep up. Then you go into glycolysis, and you can see it in 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
Right? You can see just acceleration, and then they just top off. Right? And anybody who starts doing sprints starts feeling it. And, I always warn everybody, don't go out and do a 100-meter sprint and you haven't done one. You will wreck your body like you've never wrecked it in your life. Because if you have muscle memory, especially if you were an athlete but you haven't been doing it, your body knows what to do, and it can put out a ton of power, but your tissues aren't used to that. You will rip your hamstrings apart like you've never done it, right? Yeah. So you just got to work yourself back up. But the high you get from sprinting is so insane. And when you've depleted your mitochondria throughout your body, they're like, what just happened? And so then they start multiplying and they start getting bigger and they start getting more effective. And that's what you keep needing to do. Like if you just kept doing like low level cardio and like, I'll lift some weights, but I never really push it all that hard. Your mitochondria don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Because like they can keep up. And it's just like everything. We have to have high stress, right? Not too much stress, but enough stress to get something to change.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
When you're down, because you do a lot, you're doing a lot.
I'm doing a lot, yeah.
And you know a lot. And sometimes that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, no, meaning...
I feel like I don't know enough.
But you could have this for that and this for this. Like you have it at your access. It's all there. What do you do to just strip it back to a baseline?
To me, it's Qigong.
Yeah.
When I went to residency, I'll never forget it. I had just tested the 3rd black. And Grandmaster Tay pulled me aside and he's just like, you're not going to be able to practice like normal, right? Your life's going to be upside down. He's just like, do your Qigong, right? He's like, do your Qigong every morning. Do it whenever you can during the day. Make sure that your Qi is flowing. And it's kind of like an esoteric thing to say, right? But like, when you're balanced, right? When you're like in your good space and when you're healthy and you're not like nervous and all that stuff. And he's like, make sure that you touch every one of your patients with your Qi, right? And hold yourself accountable to having good Qi. And don't give them the part of your Qi that strips you of your energy. Give them the Qi that you generate on a daily basis, not that core stuff.
Not the core, yeah.
Right? And I would be super tired because like sometimes our shifts were 30 hours.
Cocaine addict.
And my cocaine was I would go up on the roof of the parking garage and there's internal styles of Qigong and there's external styles of Qigong. And I would do an external style of Qigong, called Sani Qian. And it's really dynamic and like you tense your whole body up really strong. So that like, and it's called like iron shirt training. And so like when you're doing it, somebody could like break a stick over your neck or like, snap something over your shins and you wouldn't even feel it. You just turn yourself into iron basically and you're breathing really like strong. It's kind of like almost a Valsalva maneuver, right? And at the end of it, you can do this sequence where you let all your energy out. And what I was taught is like when you're low on energy, you do the whole sequence and then you hold it and you just breathe and you let it sit in your body. And then I would go run down and I would do the rest of my work. And that was my little like, and that wasn't even 5 minutes. I would just like do it for a couple minutes and then just run back downstairs and I'd be like way better than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I think people don't realize the power of the breath too.
Oh,
and when you know
insane.
how, you've trained in how. So
yeah.
Dr. Pazio, thank you. When I talk to people like you, and I have the good fortune, I always just feel more hopeful that there's caregivers and people who are helping other people be as healthy as they can, and also the exciting things about technology. Yeah. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you want to learn more, there is a ton of valuable information on my website. All you have to do is go to GabrielleReese.com or head to the episode show notes to find a full breakdown with helpful links to studies, research, books, podcasts, and so much more. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and send them to @GabbyReese on Instagram. And if you feel inspired, please subscribe. I'll see you next week.